Chapter 38. Soon, Black Crow realized that he could only move around on this floor. The other doors couldn't be opened and he couldn't go up to the second floor. There was an invisible force field around the wooden spiral staircase that prevented him from getting close. He-Ching was still on her guard. Black Crow was giving her too much pressure. Come to think of it, other than fear, she actually felt a tinge of excitement. Because she was sure that this wasn't the Jade Dragon Kingdom's palace. Her wish had finally come true. She had left the birdcage that was the palace and entered the outside world. Although the current situation was a little strange, she knew that she had to rely on herself now. He-Ching, you can do it! He-Ching clenched her tiny fists, cheering herself on. Once again, the dangerous man in black's gaze landed on her. He-Ching immediately said, I don't know where this place is either. Just like you, I came in from door number 5. I think whoever it is that has the ability to bring us here must have a motive. Who knows, they might be spying on us from somewhere right now. Her way of survival was to divert attention. After all, He-Ching was a princess, the 7th princess of the Jade Dragon Kingdom. Although she had a wild and unruly personality, she was far more intelligent than most of her peers. She had always been number 1 in strategy classes for the royal family. After calmly analyzing the situation earlier, she knew that the biggest threat wasn't the mysterious owner of this place but the man in black. Diverting his attention was the smartest thing to do. Sure enough, Black Crow's expression changed slightly. His initial thought of interrogating the man was stifled. Instead, he retreated and leaned against the wall, waiting quietly. Smart choice, He-Ching thought. With the current situation unclear, preserving her strength and observing the situation was the best option. The two didn't speak and deliberately kept their distance. They didn't know what they were waiting for, but there was nothing else they could do. After a while, there was a commotion in the room. The only metal door on the second floor creaked as it was pushed open. He-Ching and Black Crow's attention was immediately drawn to it as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Lin Jin was finally done with his work. In fact, he had only used a short amount of time. The appraisal process was so simple that it took him some time to write the evaluation report. Fortunately, it was done in about an hour. Once everything was ready, he once again entered the Museum of Deadly Beasts Visitation Hall. He wanted to know what this place was for. However, when he pushed open the door, he was startled. There was actually someone on the first floor. His first reaction was to retreat. How could there be people in the Museum of Deadly Beasts? That was impossible. However, just as Lin Jin took a step back, he stopped. He suddenly remembered the words on the back of the wooden sign that said, Curator. The mysterious heaven miraculous art, the universe changes, the people with special talents, the fated guests, fated guests? This was the Beast Visitation Hall, so didn't that mean these people were visitors? Lin Jin stopped in his tracks, calmed himself down, and studied the people below. If these people were guests, then he was the host. Since this was his territory, what was there to be afraid of? Lin Jin thought his analysis made sense. Moreover, this visitation hall was one of the Museum of Deadly Beasts rewards, so there must be something special about it. Although Lin Jin thought this reward was mediocre, he decided to take a look first. As Lin Jin observed the people below, they too were observing him. No one spoke. The hall was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. He-Ching looked puzzled. She was young and straightforward, so her curiosity was like a cat scratching at her heart. Finally, she couldn't help but break the silence. Did you kidnap us here? Black Crow wanted to know the answer to this question as well. Kidnap? The gears in Lin Jin's head began turning. He had been systematically considering the current situation. Look, there are people in this room. They either came here on their own accord or they were forced here. As for the possibility that they were originally from the museum, that has been ruled out. From the girl's words, Lin Jin knew that they were forced to come here. In other words, if it wasn't him, Then it was the Museum of Deadly Beasts itself. Be it voluntarily or passively, since they were here, according to the museum, they were guests. As the host, Lin Jean obviously had to treat them well. Hence, after some thought, Lin Jean coughed and said, "Welcome, all three of you. Very polite, right?" Unbeknownst to him, He Ching and Black Crow's expressions changed. Because there were only the two of them and their pet beasts in the hall on the first floor. How could there be a third person? Black Crow's eyes darted around as if he had thought of something. He Ching, on the other hand, was startled. She looked around and said, "You're such a strange person. There's only the two of us here, so why did you say 3 guests are welcome? What do you mean? Also, what's that thing on your face? Why does it look like a cloud of black mist?" Lin Jean raised an eyebrow, musing, "You're the strange one. There are 3 of you down there, and there's nothing on my face." At this, Lin Jean touched his face. Indeed, there was nothing on his face. However, judging from the girl's reaction, she didn't seem like she was deliberately causing trouble. It was then that Lin Jean noticed that other than the well-dressed girl and the black-clothed man who was pretending to be cool, the third person had been standing relatively far away. Furthermore, the pet beast perched on his shoulder looked like a chameleon no matter how he looked at it. Also, when Lin Jean said 3 guests were welcome, the one who reacted the most and looked the most shocked was this person. It was as if someone had discovered his secret. Perhaps to answer Lin Jin's doubts, 3 streams of light surged out from the 3 pet beasts and materialized into 3 specimens before Lin Jean. These were the detailed appraisal results of the 3 pet beasts. Clearly, if the pet beasts entered the museum, Lin Jean didn't have to touch them and they could be recorded for appraisal. There were no secrets to speak of. However, the 3 people down there acted as if they didn't see this phenomenon. Hence, Lin Jean had reason to believe that as visitors, their authority in the museum was limited. As a transmigrator, Lin Jin's ability to accept and understand certain things definitely surpassed the natives of this world. For example, he had a strong understanding of visitor authority. So far, it seemed like the visitors couldn't see the strange phenomenon in the museum. And according to the girl, there was a cloud of black mist on his face. In other words, they couldn't see what he looked like. Lin Jean was secretly delighted. In other words, no matter how surprised or happy he was right now, no one could see it. He looked at the 3 pet beasts recorded in the museum. TSK, amazing, amazing. Not a single one of them was average. They were all rare species with hidden bloodlines. Suddenly, an idea popped into Lin Jin's mind. He lowered his voice and said, "Although the tetra-winged butterfly dragon is only rank 2, it has great potential. If everything goes well, it could even evolve into rank 5 or even rank 6 in a few years. But for now, it's the weakest among the 3 of you. This black falcon, on the other hand, is quite impressive. It's currently a rank 4 pet beast, the strongest among the 3. It's a pity that its potential isn't as good as the butterfly dragon. And the heterochromatic dragon, a rank 3 pet beast. Average, but its ability is quite impressive. Not only can it blend in with its surroundings, but it can also turn its owner invisible too. Now that he knew he had the upper hand, Lin Jean had no worries. He now understood the purpose of the visitation hall. At least one of its functions was to increase the number of rare beasts recorded. Of course, the visitation hall's function wasn't limited to just that. Lin Jean had purposely read out the appraisal results of the 3 pet beasts to establish his authority. Just by looking at their pet beasts, it was obvious that none of them were ordinary people. Chapter 39. These 3 people were either influential nobles or ruthless expert. Compared to them, Lin Jean was definitely inferior in every aspect. But now they were inside his own museum, wary and fearful. When they heard Lin Jean easily reveal the results of their pet beasts' appraisals, their expressions were more frightening than if they had seen a ghost. Looking at the 20 wooden doors below, Lin Jin knew that since the museum had opened the visitation hall, at least 20 people from all over the world would be invited in. Just think about it. If they were allowed to bring some rare exotic beast's fur, blood, or something else every time they came, the number of rare exotic beasts recorded in the museum would increase. Previously, after recording 10 rare beasts, the museum rewarded Lin Jin with part 1 of the beast weapon crafting method. Lin Jin took a look. To get part 2, he had to record more than 50 rare beasts. He was alone and weak. Moreover, he was holed up in a small place like Maple City. How long would it take for him to find 50 rare beasts? Up until now, he had recorded less than 20 rare beasts. But with this visitation hall, things would be different. These people might come from all over the world. They might even come from places thousands or even tens of thousands of miles away. They must have come into contact with more rare beasts than Lin Jin did. This time, he would give them a show of strength and intimidate them before giving them some benefit. With that, it didn't matter if they were nobles or peerless experts, they would have to submit obediently. At this thought, Lin Jin beamed brightly. Knowing that his face had long been concealed by the museum's black fog, Lin Jin's smile was unrestrained. After announcing the results of the 3 pet beasts' appraisals, He Qing, Black Crow, and the invisible third person were all shocked. Needless to say, He Qing's thoughts were written all over her face. Black Crow, on the other hand, was different. He was a cold-blooded killer. He wouldn't show any expression even if he massacred an entire country. But now, he couldn't hide the shock on his face. That was because his black falcon was enchanted with a special Dharma spell. Even if one used specialized beast appraisal methods, they would not be able to tell anything, let alone look at it with their eyes. Yet, that guy on the second floor had easily revealed everything about his black falcon. This made Black Crow feel like he had been stripped naked and left hanging in the crowd. This feeling was extremely uncomfortable. If he was uncomfortable, he would be unhappy, and if he was unhappy, he would kill someone. I don't care who you are, and you don't even know who you've provoked. But don't worry, I'll make you understand the consequences of provoking the wrong person. Black Raven growled and immediately cast a spell. The black falcon on his shoulder flew up as black smoke billowed out of its body, condensing into a huge raven silhouette. In an instant, the black falcon's rank 4 pet beast strength erupted. Darkness was the attribute of the black falcon. Obviously, this kind of attribute was very rare, and its combat ability was very terrifying. Black Crow was 100% confident in his pet beast. This confidence came from his countless battles and his rank 4 pet beast with a hidden bloodline that could wipe out an entire country. Kill him! Black Crow pointed at Lin Jin on the second floor, and the black falcon shrieked before pouncing over like a grim reaper. At that moment, He Qing was so frightened that she was squatting on the ground, hugging her head. No matter how smart she was still frightened by a truly terrifying rank 4 pet beast. On the second floor, Lin Jin was startled as well. Although he had elementary beast deterrence, it was only effective against rank 3 and below. He still couldn't handle a rank 4 pet beast. Hence, he was very nervous. But at that moment, the wooden plaque in his hand that read Curator emitted a wave of deterrence. The wave swept past and the black falcon froze as if it had been electrocuted. Then, it fell to the ground and knelt before Lin Jin on the second floor. The malevolent expression on Black Crow's face froze. In fact, he was still pointing at the second floor, but due to the huge shock, he forgot to think. What just happened? His black falcon was so arrogant that even as its master, Black Crow had to be polite and treat him as an equal. Even if he spoke a little harshly, the black falcon would throw a tantrum. Sometimes, Black Crow even felt like he was the black falcon's pet. But now, the proud black feather god knelt on the ground like a human, prostrating himself. His mind, which had gone blank from the shock of reality, finally came back to his senses. At the same time, A wave of fear washed over him as a layer of sweat appeared on his forehead. Lin Jin was also drenched in cold sweat. A rank 4 pet beast was indeed terrifying. If it weren't for Lin Jin's bravery, anyone else would have been paralyzed on the ground. Fortunately, the tables had turned. The curator's wooden plaque had suppressed the black falcon. Lin Jin gripped the wooden plaque tightly and breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he lowered his voice and asked Black Crow, "What are you trying to do?" This question was laced with mockery and anger. I. Black Crow's hands were trembling as he stuttered. With a rank 4 pet beast under his control, he was a peerless killer in the eyes of others. This was how humans were. Only those who were ignorant would be fearless. Only those who stood at the top would understand their insignificance and understand reverence. Now, Black Crow realized that he had provoked the wrong person. The person on the second floor was much more powerful than he had imagined. In an instant, his anger, arrogance, and murderous intent shattered as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head. He must have gone mad. He knew that the owner of this place wasn't as simple as he seemed. The fact that he was able to pull Black Crow into this place spoke volumes. Yet, he had foolishly assumed that he could use the Black Falcon to fight. Now that he thought about it, it was a foolish plan. Black Crow didn't want to die. He was an assassin who had reaped many lives. Yet, a man who didn't care for his own life was terrified of death. Black Crow's current priority was to pacify the person on the second floor. After stuttering for a long time, Black Crow made up his mind and knelt on the ground, giving an excuse that even he didn't believe. "I was just joking. Please don't take it seriously." He Qing couldn't help but burst into laughter. Lin Jin wouldn't really do anything to the man. After all, he couldn't restrain or attack the man himself. He could only rely on the curator's wooden plaque to intimidate the man's pet beast. Lin Jin had a feeling that this curator's wooden plaque must have an intermediate beast deterrence effect. "Alright, this is the only time. There won't be a next time." Lin Jin waved his hand. As if he had just been pardoned, Black Crow got up. His arrogance and sharpness were nowhere to be seen. The black falcon reverted to its crow form and curled up on Black Crow's shoulder, obedient and well-behaved. "Let's get down to business. Welcome to the Museum of Deadly Beasts. Here, you may ask anything about pet beasts. Remember, only pet beasts. You may ask any questions you have and I will answer them. Of course, these answers aren't free. For every question I ask, you must provide me with the fur or blood of a rare beast." "You may ask your questions now," Lin Jin said seriously. Lin Jin said with a straight face. Lin Jin waited patiently. Unhurried, Lin Jin waited patiently. He Qing looked around with her big eyes and raised her hand charmingly. "What do you want to ask?" Lin Jin looked at her. He Qing pointed at her pet beast and plucked a strand of fur before asking, "May I know how my pet beast can evolve in the shortest time possible?" This question posed no difficulty to Lin Jin at all. There were more than 4 ways for this tetra-winged butterfly dragon to evolve. Lin Jin picked the easiest one, wrote it down, and tossed it to her. He Qing picked up the paper and glanced at it. She immediately looked excited. She could tell that this evaluation report was worth tens of thousands of gold coins. Nearby, the curious Black Crow craned his neck to look at the contents of the evaluation report. Unfortunately, he couldn't see anything. However, he wasn't blind. He could tell from the girl's excited expression that this evaluation report clearly contained the true evolution method. Other than fear, Black Crow was also curious. "I have one more question." After a moment's thought, He Qing removed a necklace from her fair neck. There was a colorful scale hanging on the necklace. Obviously, these were the scales of some rare exotic beast. She tossed the necklace to Lin Jin. He thought she was going to ask about the scale, but instead, she asked something else. "Senior, can you tell me, who are you?" This question was against the rules as he wasn't a pet beast. However, Lin Jin gave it some serious thought before answering, "You can call me curator." Chapter 40. Lin Fan had already thought that he definitely couldn't reveal his real name. His current strength was still too low, and if he were to reveal his identity, he would definitely attract a fatal disaster. However, he needed a title. When he saw the curator's plaque, Lin Jin decided that he would be the curator in the visitation hall from now on. The Museum of Deadly Beasts curator. He Qing nodded and retreated in satisfaction. Lin Jin tossed the colorful scale in his hand, and it turned into a stream of light before being recorded into the museum. Rift Beast, Phantom Jade Dragon. Rift Beast recorded count, 110. As a gigantic specimen appeared before him, Lin Jin gaped at it. This was undoubtedly a behemoth. It was probably the largest pet beast Lin Jin had ever seen. Although it was hovering in the air, Lin Jin could tell that it was at least 30 feet long. It could be encircled by 2 people and was clad in colorful armor. It had 2 horns on its head and 4 claws. Looking at the information on the stone tablet, this thing started off at rank 3 and had a terrifying growth potential of rank 6. Lin Jin was overwhelmed with emotions. There were many types of rare beasts in this world, and there were many powerful pet beasts too. These could all be recorded in the museum, and there would definitely be more rewards. Just like the museum's appraisal results, this Phantom Jade Dragon was categorized as a Rift Beast. Lin Jin had no idea what this Rift Beast represented, but it was undoubtedly rarer than rare beasts and mutant eggs. If he could meet the requirements for recording, he wondered what kind of rewards he would receive. At this thought, Lin Jin rubbed his hands together in excitement. After calming himself down, Lin Jin looked at the 3 people below him. He was now sure that with visitor privileges, they couldn't see the recorded beast specimen and the tablet's information. Otherwise, they wouldn't have remained unperturbed when such a large specimen appeared in the air. With a wave of his hand, Lin Jin stored the specimen in the museum and asked, "Where are the others? Is there anything you'd like to ask?" Black Crow was still hesitating when a silhouette appeared in the air. This figure was covered in a strange scale armor that covered his entire body. On his shoulder there was a chameleon. Black Crow's pupils dilated at the sight of this person. It really is him, Phantom Thief Jiang Ziki. Clearly, he had heard of the other party's name. Jiang Ziki took a step forward, bowed, and asked respectfully, "Curator, I have a question. If my pet beast is seriously ill, do you have a way to treat it?" Lin Jin nodded. "As long as you bring me that pet beast's fur, scales, or blood, I can answer your questions." It could be seen that Jiang Ziki's body shook. He then said, "I didn't bring you this time. I don't know when I can come next time. I'll bring you here and ask for your guidance." This, just as Lin Jin was fretting over how to answer, he felt the curator's wooden token vibrate. Looking down, he saw a new line of text. The visitation hall opens once every 7 days. Visitors can enter by presenting their wooden visitor token. There was actually an answer. Lin Jin repeated the words and Jiang Ziki retreated, satisfied. When they entered, there was a number plate hanging on the wooden door. His was number 6. He Qing was holding number 5, so naturally Black Crow was holding number 7. "Do you have any more questions?" Lin Jin wanted to record more rare beasts, so he asked considerately. Black Crow hesitated but couldn't hold it in. After a brief discussion with the Black Falcon, Black Crow plucked out a feather and went up to ask respectfully, "Curator, may I know how my Black Falcon can evolve?" It was obvious that Black Crow was eager to help his Black Falcon evolve. He knew better than anyone how terrifying high-level pet beasts could be. He had plenty of enemies, and although a rank 4 pet beast could crush its opponents most of the time, the strongest pet beasts in this world weren't limited to rank 4. If there was a chance for his Black Falcon to evolve to rank 5, just the thought of it made Black Crow excited. However, in the past few years, Black Crow had consulted various experts and searched for various methods, but he still could not find a way to help the Black Falcon advance. This was already his greatest wish. This curator was so powerful that he could easily suppress the Black Falcon. Perhaps he could answer his question. Lin Jin had read through the information on the Black Falcon's stone tablet. Truth be told, there were a few evolution methods, but they were all as difficult as ascending to heaven. After all, the Black Falcon's potential wasn't high and it was already rank 4. Taking another step forward was obviously much more difficult than evolving a low-level pet beast. Although Lin Jin had a way, he didn't give it to the man. Since the man dared to mess around, even if Lin Jin said he wouldn't pursue the matter, that didn't mean Lin Jin would let it go. Hence, Lin Jin flicked his sleeve and said coldly, "Visitor number 7, you've used violence in the museum today. Although it's your first offense and I'll exempt you from punishment, you still need to be punished a little. If you want the Black Falcon's evolution method, I can give it to you, but you'll have to wait until next time. Also, you must bring the fur and blood of at least 20 rare beasts, or else you can forget about getting the evolution method." Lin Jin knew that rare beasts were rare to begin with. It was too difficult for the man to collect 50 in 7 days, but 20 should be doable. By then, the number of rare beasts recorded would be close to 50. After all, the museum would only reward Lin Jin with Part 2 of the Beast Energy Formation once he reached 50. After cultivating Xiaohua's Beast Energy Formation, Lin Jin knew better than anyone else just how powerful it was. Also, according to Xiaohua's evolution method, if he wanted to continue his perfect evolution, he would have to obtain the next part of the Beast Energy Formation. Remember, it must be unique fur and blood or it won't count, Lin Jin added. Black Crow quickly noted it down. Although it was a little troublesome, Black Crow knew that he had just narrowly escaped with his life today. He didn't dare to ask for more. Moreover, this mysterious and powerful curator said that there was an evolution method for the Black Falcon, so he must be right. Wasn't it just collecting fur and blood from rare beasts? Wasn't it just another 7 days? It was nothing. He had been waiting for years, so what was 7 more days? Clearly, this was all he could squeeze out of the first visitor. 4 rare beasts were recorded, including a rift beast. All in all, it wasn't too bad. After spending quite some time here, Lin Jin decided to leave. The museum will be closing soon. Please leave through the wooden door, Lin Jin said. Not daring to tarry, He Qing and Black Crow hurriedly left through their own doors, each with their own thoughts in mind. Black Crow pushed open the wooden door and sure enough, there was a spatial rift up ahead. Without hesitation, he stepped through. The next moment, he was back at his original spot. The ancient immortal's cave that he and his companions had discovered. His surroundings were dark and the rift behind him had disappeared. Black Crow stood there for a long time, deep in thought. Just then, a person walked over from a nearby tunnel. This person's face was covered in a long robe and his arms were covered in sores. There was a foul stench coming from his body, and the pet beast beside him was a giant green centipede. When the centipede stood up, it was taller than a human and was a terrifying sight to behold. Black Crow, where did you go? Why couldn't I find you anywhere? The person asked anxiously when he saw Black Crow. Black Crow turned around and regained his arrogance. Poison centipede, do I need to report my whereabouts to you? How's the excavation of this immortal's cave coming along? The person called Poison Centipede didn't mind Black Crow's tone. After all, Black Crow was the most powerful fighter in their group. The excavation progress isn't ideal. Rat was even trapped and almost died down there. Poison Centipede smiled eerily. To him, the lives of his companions weren't important at all. This was how their group was. They gathered together for the sake of profit. Black Crow stared at the giant green centipede and suddenly said, "This centipede of yours is a rare beast, right? Hurry up and give me a drop of its blood." In a dense forest, Jiang Ziki, who was known as the Phantom Bandit, stared at the giant sleeping lizard in front of him. He mumbled, "To save you, I have to take one of your scales. Let's hope that curator can create a miracle." Jade Dragon Kingdom, inside the palace. At this moment, the sky was already turning bright, but the palace was already in a mess. After all, their seventh princess had suddenly disappeared without a trace, and her whereabouts were unknown. The guards in the palace were already going crazy with anxiety. Just then, a guard shouted, "Her Royal Highness, seventh princess, has been found." He chased everyone out of the house. She made up a random excuse and managed to get away with it for now. No one would pursue the matter of her disappearing for several hours. After all, she had returned safely. At this moment, in her room, He-Ching was jumping up and down excitedly with a face full of stars. "Shao Dai, not only did we get out, but we also went to such a magical place. With this visitor token, we can go out once every 7 days. This is just the beginning. When the time comes, we'll be able to visit those famous mountains and rivers too. But before that, I want to help you evolve. Once you reach rank 3, you'll be able to change your size and you can secretly fly me out to play." Just then, someone outside the house said, "Your Royal Highness, sixth princess has fainted again." Chapter 41. He-Ching's excited expression froze. She rushed out anxiously and ran to another palace. This was the residence of the sixth princess of Jade Dragon Kingdom, He-Yu. In Jade Dragon Kingdom, the sixth princess, He-Yu, was a taboo. Everyone in the palace knew how special she was. After all, she had been cursed by the royal family since young and no one was willing to get close to her. The seventh princess, He-Ching, was an exception. She had been closest to her sixth sister since young. When she arrived, she bumped into the guard captain who was rushing out. "Uncle Lu, how is my sister?" He-Ching stepped forward and asked anxiously. Uncle Lu shook his head. "Her Highness isn't doing too well this time. She's unconscious and the palace doctor is here to treat her. Please don't worry, seventh princess." He-Ching nodded and was about to enter when she suddenly remembered something. She turned around and asked, "Uncle Lu, where are you going?" Uncle Lu replied, "I'm going to Maple City immediately. Perhaps there's someone who can save Her Highness." Maple City Beast Appraisal Association. Wang Ji arrived earlier than usual for no other reason than the fact that the City Lord Manor's steward Swa would be here soon to collect the 11 mutated eggs and the corresponding evaluation reports. As the guild master, he had to take over this matter personally. Wang Ji was rather dissatisfied with this assignment from the City Lord Manor. Appraising 11 mutated eggs in such a short period of time? Wasn't that a joke? But even if he complained, there were still things he had to do. Fortunately, he and Gao Jiang managed to appraise 2 eggs yesterday, so he could reluctantly hand it over. Of course, if the job wasn't done well, someone had to take the blame. Wang Ji had chosen Lin Jin as the scapegoat. If there were no accidents, Lin Jin's qualifications as an official beast appraiser would be revoked by headquarters in a few days at the earliest. Hence, if there were any problems, it wouldn't be wrong to throw the blame at him. Stepping into the appraisal hall, Wang Ji was displeased to see Lin Jin nowhere to be seen. "Where's Lin Jin?" An apprentice came running over but couldn't find Lin Jin either. Wang Ji was enraged. Mud can't hold up a wall. He actually dared to leave his post. "Note this down for me. This is preposterous." Having said that, he went over to check on the eggs. To his surprise, there was an evaluation report beside each egg. He picked it up and flipped it open. The first thing he saw was the signature. It was Lin Jin's. Wang Ji became even angrier. Nonsense. As a beast appraiser, fabricating a beast evaluation report is a taboo. How dare he write something like this? I think he really doesn't want to work anymore. However, when Wang Ji took a closer look at the beast evaluation report in his hand, he was immediately stunned. Although harsh, Wang Ji must have some skills to be able to become chief of Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association. At the very least, his professional abilities matched his status. Mutant eggs were difficult to appraise because of the unique spiritual energy barrier. Hence, ordinary appraisal methods couldn't see through it. Even as a rank 2 beast appraiser, he couldn't do anything about it. All he could do was rely on his rich experience. Even the evaluation reports were based on guesses. However, how could Lin Jin's evaluation report contain any sort of prediction? Reading through it, it was as if the results were already set. There seemed to be a problem, right? But the reality was the complete opposite. As long as one read through it carefully, they would realize that the results were reasonable. There were many professional jargon used in the process, including determining the pattern of the eggshell and the degree of light transmission. Some of the methods were even Wang Ji's first time seeing. But as he pondered over them, he was suddenly enlightened. This was something Wang Ji could see. He could even recall which book he had read about some of the appraisal method. However, he had forgotten them in practice. Now that he was reading through it, he felt enlightened and enlightened. Wang Ji continued reading, feeling more and more astonished. Other than astonishment, there was also joy. Because he had learned quite a lot from these evaluation reports. Although he still couldn't understand some of them, just understanding 20 to 30% of the content was enough to make him feel like he had improved tremendously. After reading through them, Wang Ji's expression changed and his fingers trembled. From his professional point of view, there was nothing wrong with these evaluation reports. In fact, their standards were far above his. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that even the association could start a war of learning, discussing, and researching these evaluation reports. Wang Ji himself had learned several new appraisal methods and theories from them. If these were written by a rank 3 beast appraiser, Wang Ji would believe it. But were these all Lin Jin's handwriting? Wang Ji couldn't help but feel suspicious and unreal. He couldn't figure it out. How did Lin Jin come up with these? Did someone write it for him? That was impossible. Lin Jin couldn't possibly have hired a rank 3 beast appraiser to write for him. Moreover, he had asked the apprentices on night duty outside. No one had entered or left the room during the entire process. In other words, these evaluation reports were most likely written by Lin Jin. Although Wang Ji hated to admit it, he knew that the standards of these evaluation reports were far above his own. A hint of struggle and hesitation flashed across Wang Ji's eyes, but it was soon replaced by determination. Whether or not Lin Jin was truly talented or just a stroke of genius, it didn't matter. What mattered was that Lin Jin couldn't make a comeback. In his report to headquarters, Wang Ji had been extremely derogatory toward Lin Jin. If Lin Jin were to suddenly rise and shine, what would happen to him as chief? Hence, Wang Ji would rather believe that Lin Jin had gotten lucky. In any case, he couldn't give Lin Jin a chance to make a comeback. Not only was this so that he could promote Jia Qian in the future, but it was also because he had to do this. Otherwise, headquarters would hold him accountable. At this, Wang Ji took a deep breath. He had the others leave and guard the door to prevent anyone from entering. Then, he lit a fire and burned all of Lin Jin's evaluation reports. He had memorized the contents of these beast evaluation reports. He planned to immediately start writing them out in his own way. Guards, wait outside and bring the gifts out. If the city lord Manners stewards what comes later, comfort him and tell him that I'm in the middle of an evaluation. Ask him to wait for a moment. Wang Ji quickly made the arrangements. With that, the act of replacing Lin Jin with Lin Jin would be completed. Wang Ji rolled up his sleeves and began rewriting the evaluation reports in his own way, based on the contents of the previous report. This matter was settled. Wang Ji wasn't afraid of Lin Jin making a fuss after this. Firstly, Lin Jin couldn't possibly know about it. Secondly, even if he did Lin Jin have any concrete evidence? Wang Ji had already burned the evidence. All he had to do was instruct the apprentices on night duty, and no one would know that Lin Jin had appraised a mutant egg here. After he was done, Wang Ji was exhausted. After all, he had rushed to finish the report. However, he was excited. Appraising a mutant egg would definitely add a great deal of color to his resume. Not only would he receive an evaluation from headquarters, but the City Lord Manor would also reward him handsomely. Stretching his numb arm, Wang Ji regained his solemn expression and strode out. Silence returned to the appraisal hall. An hour later, Lin Jin appeared out of thin air in a corner of the hall. F***ck, there's no concept of time in the museum. I only studied those rare beasts and curator's authority. I didn't expect so much time to pass. Lin Jin finally exited the Museum of Deadly Beasts. In the visitation hall, the curator had quite a number of privileges. Lin Jin had to slowly try them out. For example, he could choose whether or not to allow visitors to see the museum's beasts, including specimens. He could also choose to allow visitors to see his own image. This was the most interesting. This was also why Lin Jin took so long to come out. It felt like the process of creating a character in a game before he transmigrated to this world. As the saying went, 1 minute in a game is 3 hours of creating a face. In the end, Lin Jin chose his own curator image. Because he was too engrossed in the process, he didn't notice the passage of time. Chapter 42. Of course, Lin Jin had no idea that not too long ago, Wang Ji had shamelessly replaced the items here. Seeing that the 11 mutant eggs and evaluation reports were gone, Lin Jin knew that Chief Wang Ji must have arranged for them to be moved away. But it didn't matter. His job was done anyway. Come to think of it, it had been a sleepless night and he was quite tired. Out of habit, Lin Jin touched the back of his waist and was stunned. His back was empty. "Where's my painting?" Lin Jin was startled. He had kept the painting Gu Mingzhong gave him with him at the back of his waist. Why couldn't he find it? Lin Jin quickly searched through his memories. Remembering that he found it troublesome when he was writing the evaluation report last night, he put it aside. He remembered that it was next to the table. He looked over but it was gone. There was nothing under the table either. Lin Jin was dumbfounded. F***ck me, where's my painting? He couldn't find it anywhere else in the hall. Lin Jin assumed that the person on duty last night must have taken it away. Lin Jin remembered that he was Chief Wang Ji's apprentice. As long as he knew he was still in the association, he wouldn't be able to escape. He had to get his priceless painting back. Now that Lin Jin's tiredness was gone, he was full of energy. With a dark expression, he headed straight for Chief Wang Ji's consultation hall. Coincidentally, he bumped into the apprentice who was on duty last night. Without a care for the consequences, Lin Jin went up and grabbed the apprentice's collar. "Where's my painting?" The apprentice was startled. When he saw that it was Lin Jin, his expression darkened. "Lin Jin, what are you doing?" Chief Wang Ji's apprentice obviously looked down on Lin Jin as well. Now that he was grabbed by his collar, he panicked. "Where's the painting I left on the table last night?" "You were on duty and you were the only one who came in and out at night, so you must have taken it," Lin Jin said confidently. He couldn't lose that painting anyway. At this, the apprentice was stunned. "What painting? I don't know and I've never seen it before." "Lin Jin, stop being unreasonable and let go of me. Chief Wang still hasn't settled the score with you for leaving your post without permission." He didn't look like he was lying. That was odd. Lin Jin let go of the apprentice. The apprentice insisted that he had never seen it before and Lin Jin had no proof. More importantly, Lin Jin didn't see a trace of panic in the apprentice's eyes. Was he really not the one who took it? The apprentice straightened his collar before telling Lin Jin, "Appraiser Lin, I really didn't take your painting. In order to prepare a gift for the City Lord Manor's steward Zhua, I didn't sleep the entire night." "Right, what painting is it that's making you so anxious?" Lin Jin waved. The man didn't seem to be lying. If he didn't take it, someone else must have taken it. However, Lin Jin had no idea who it was. Especially when he found out that many people had entered and exited the appraisal hall this morning, Lin Jin's heart sank. These people could all be thieves, but the problem was, how could they find them? Lin Jin sighed. It was his fault for being careless. If he couldn't find her, he had no one to blame but himself for being too engrossed in sculpting her face. It seemed that no matter which world you were in, being addicted to games was always a hindrance. Thinking of this, he returned to his consultation hall dejectedly. Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun had arrived long ago. As usual, they were cleaning and making tea. Upon seeing Lin Jin, they went over to greet him. "I'll sleep for a while." In a foul mood, Lin Jin ran to the back room to sleep. No one would come to him for beast appraisal or treatment anyway. However, not long after he slept, someone came. Zukin didn't sleep much last night either. After all, he was worried about leaving his pet beast with Lin Jin, so he rushed over early in the morning. "Appraiser Lin, why are you so listless?" Knowing that Lin Jin was truly talented and had a way to treat his pet beast, Zhu Kan was extremely respectful toward him. Moreover, he had secretly investigated yesterday and found out who was the culprit behind his pet beast's death. If Appraiser Lin hadn't noticed that his pet beast was poisoned, Zhu Kan might have been kept in the dark until his pet beast's death. Just based on this, Lin Jin was his benefactor. Lin Jin didn't want to talk about what happened last night. Whenever he thought about the painting he lost, his heart would bleed. He mustn't talk about it, mustn't think about it. Knowing that Zhu Kan was here to see the sapphire turtle, Lin Jin clapped his hands and Xiao Hui chased the turtle out. The turtle was now moving swiftly and it looked much better than yesterday. I used a secret recipe to brew a pill and fed it to it yesterday. The poison in its body is now 70 to 80% gone. If you're worried about leaving it here, I'll give you the recipe and you can find someone to brew the pill for it. It'll be back to full health in 3 days at most. Lin Jin had a good impression of Zhu Kan. Although the man was a scion of an aristocratic family, he wasn't arrogant. Just this fact alone was impressive. Zhu Kan was elated to see his pet beast recovering. "Appraiser Lin, I'll stay here to keep it company." Lin Jin nodded, indicating that he could do as he pleased. After a while, Zhu Kan bade him farewell without alerting Lin Jin. But in reality, Lin Jin was too troubled to sleep, so he decided not to. He picked up his brush and copied down the blood-pact method for the ink monster from the museum's stone tablet. Gu Mingzhong's ink monster was difficult to form a blood pact with. Firstly, the success rate of traditional blood pact methods was low. Secondly, this ink monster had high potential but low intelligence. A stronger pet beast was needed to suppress its wildness for the blood pact to be successful. Lin Jin compared several blood contract methods and ticked off the one he thought was the most suitable. The materials for this method weren't hard to find and were relatively easy. The only downside was that it required a stronger pet beast to suppress the ink monster's wildness. In the past, Lin Jin's strongest pet beast would be his Xiaohua or Elder Mo's fire lizard. Both were rank 3 pet beasts, so it was difficult for them to suppress the ink monster's wildness. But things were different now. The opening of the visitation hall had increased the number of ways for the Museum of Deadly Beasts to record information. Last night, the strongest pet beasts Lin Jin recorded were a rift beast, the phantom jade dragon, and a rare beast, the black falcon. Both of them were tier 4. Relatively speaking, the fantasy-colored jade dragon only had 1 scale at that time. Although its potential was higher, in terms of deterrence, there was no doubt that the black falcon was superior. This black falcon had killed countless people and had a sharp murderous aura. It was perfect for suppressing the ink monster's wildness. Hence, Lin Jin was able to choose the simpler blood pact method. Moreover, he had all the materials here. Once Gu Mingzhong arrived, they could start right away. There was no need to gather any more materials. Of course, only Lin Jin, who owned the Museum of Deadly Beasts, could do this because he was the only one who could borrow the power of the beasts in the museum. Now that everything was ready, they just had to wait for Gu Mingzhong's arrival. After drinking a cup of hot tea, before Gu Mingzhong arrived, Lu Yunhe walked in with Lin Jin's token. Lin Jin was still a little annoyed at the sight of Lu Yunhe. This guy came looking for trouble. If it weren't for the fact that he was Lu Xiaoyun's brother, Lin Jin wouldn't have let him leave so easily yesterday. Although Lu Yunhe had changed his attitude quickly, and it was only because he didn't understand the situation, Lin Jin couldn't be bothered with him. Especially when he was still in a bad mood. "Appraiser Lin." Lu Yunhe called out, but Lin Jin ignored him. Lu Xiaoyun jogged over and pulled the embarrassed Lu Yunhe aside. "Brother, Appraiser Lin isn't in a good mood today. You've come at a bad time." Lu Xiaoyun spoke bluntly. Lu Yunhe rolled his eyes. "Xiaoyun, I think I'm your brother. Even if Appraiser Lin is truly talented, he shouldn't be too arrogant. I'm a straightforward person. If he doesn't change his temper, no one will come to him for an appraisal." Just then, someone walked in. It was the master painter Gu Mingzhong. Chapter 43. Upon seeing Gu Mingzhong, Lu Yunhe was stunned and rubbed his eyes. His friar mentor happened to be good friends with Gu Mingzhong for many years, so Lu Yunhe had met this calligraphy master before. "It's Master Gu. Why is he here?" Lu Yunhe was taken aback. He had heard from his mentor that Master Gu had recently come to Maple City. The Friar Association had tried to invite Master Gu to their banquet several times, but Master Gu had always declined, saying that he was busy. Who would have thought that Master Gu would come to the Beast Appraisal Association? "Oh right, I heard from my mentor that Master Gu obtained a rare beast but couldn't find a way to form a blood contract with it. He must have come to the Beast Appraisal Association to ask Chief Wang Ji about it." At this thought, Lu Yunhe came to a realization. From what he could tell, the only person in Maple City who was qualified for Master Gu to visit was Chief Wang Ji of the Beast Appraisal Association. One had to know that Master Gu was an extraordinary person. His paintings were priceless, and many high officials and nobles wanted to have one of his works, but were rejected. Moreover, Master Gu was a great poet. Everyone wanted to be famous. If they could be praised by a great poet like Master Gu, it would be a dream come true. Lu Yunhe figured that Master Gu must be unfamiliar with the Beast Appraisal Association and had come to the wrong place to look for Chief Wang Ji. On second thought, he figured this was an opportunity. He would greet Master Gu, point him in the right direction, and invite him to the Friar Association. Once his mentor found out, he would surely reward him. After tidying up his clothes, Lu Yunhe was about to greet Master Gu when he saw Gu Mingzhong approaching Lin Jin. "Appraiser Lin, you've really made it easy for me to find you." At this, Lu Yunhe shrunk back. Master Gu was here to look for Lin Jin. What was going on? Noticing the shock on her brother's face, Lu Xiaoyun pulled him aside and told him what happened at Symphony Restaurant yesterday in a hushed voice. Ignoring the dumbfounded Lu Yunhe, Gu Mingzhong was already chatting with Lin Jin. Noticing that Lin Jin was in a bad mood, Gu Mingzhong asked about it. Lin Jin told him how he accidentally lost his painting. Upon hearing this, Gu Mingzhong chuckled. "And here I was wondering what happened. It's just a painting. I'll paint you another one later." Lin Jin's gloominess was swept away. A gentleman keeps his word. When Lu Yunhe heard this, he was at a loss for words. He knew how many times his mentor had asked Gu Mingzhong for a painting, but to no avail. Now, with just one word from Appraiser Lin, Master Gu was willing to give him a painting, and on the spot. "Are you related?" Lin Jin chuckled and said, "Great Master Gu, I've already finalized the method of forming a blood contract with the ink beast. These are the steps I've written down. Take a look and memorize them. When the blood contract is formed, just follow the steps strictly." Gu Mingzhong nodded. He already knew how capable Lin Jin was, especially when it came to beast appraising. Lin Jin was definitely a genius of his generation, just like his talent in painting. Hence, Gu Mingzhong didn't suspect anything. He picked up the steps Lin Jin had written and started reading. Once he did, Gu Mingzhong was shocked once again. This was because on this piece of paper, there were at least 4 ways to form a blood pact with an ink monster. Each method was very detailed. Gu Mingzhong was also a knowledgeable person who had seen the world. Although beast appraising was not his field of expertise, he could still tell the difference between good and bad. Lin Jin's evaluation report was so detailed that he had never seen it before. It was so logical and well-founded that it was hard not to be convinced. Out of the 4 blood contract methods, 1 was ticked off. Clearly, this was the method Lin Jin had chosen for Gu Mingzhong. Gu Mingzhong read through it, memorizing the steps and details. Let's begin then. Without delay, Lin Jin grabbed the ink beast in his hand. Then, he took out a small knife and made a small incision on Gu Mingzhong's palm. Blood flowed out. At the same time, Lin Jin pressed the ink beast onto the wound. At first, the ink beast struggled, but after Lin Jin used the museum's recorded aura of the Black Crow God, the ink beast became obedient. The blood contract process was smoother than Lin Jin had expected. From start to finish, only a few moments had passed. It's done. Gu Mingzhong loosened his grip. The ink beast didn't escape. Instead, like a blob of ink, it coiled around Gu Mingzhong's hand like a tiny snake. Gu Mingzhong couldn't hide the excitement on his face. Which scholar wouldn't want to form a blood contract with an ink beast? From then on, they could write and wield their swords as they pleased. Gu Mingzhong reached out and the ink beast morphed into a sharp black longsword. With a point of his finger, the sword shot forward like an arrow, piercing through a rock. With a wave of his hand, the sword returned like a wild goose. After forming a blood contract, the ink beast could be controlled as he pleased. If he familiarized himself with it in the future, it would be infinitely useful. Most importantly, this ink beast was the cream of the crop among its kind. Being a rank 3 from the start, Gu Mingzhong could now roam the world with his sword. Feeling great, Gu Mingzhong let out a hearty laugh. Then, he saluted Lin Jin. Gu Mingzhong thanks Appraiser Lin for granting me this wish. Gu Mingzhong was about to give up on forming a blood contract with this ink beast. Now that his wish was fulfilled, how could he not be grateful? Moreover, he knew better than anyone else that Lin Jin was worthy of being called a master beast appraiser. Forget a rank 1, even a rank 2 or 3 beast appraiser couldn't be compared to Lin Jin. Of course, he was convinced by a person like this. Lin Jin waved his hand. Master Gu, there's no need to be so polite. Come, let's get down to business. I have a brush and paper here. Hurry up and draw me another one. Lu Yunhe almost spat out a mouthful of blood. It turned out that to Lin Jin, forming a blood contract with an ink beast wasn't a serious matter at all. If Lu Yunhe's opinion of Lin Jin had changed yesterday due to admiration, today, he was in awe. To think that Lin Jin could befriend Master Gu, and on such good terms at that. Just based on this fact alone, Lin Jin's reputation would surely soar in the future. When he recalled that Appraiser Lin's pet beast might be a rank 3 firewolf, Lu Yunhe's remaining dissatisfaction vanished without a trace. He knew that he had to find a way to please Lin Jin in the future. Everything else aside, whether his pet beast could evolve might depend entirely on Lin Jin. While Gu Mingzhong was busy splashing ink, Steward Zhua and Wang Ji were having a pleasant conversation in Maple City's City Lord Manor. Chief Wang truly lives up to his reputation. The City Lord has just read your evaluation report and is full of praises. He's even more impressed by Chief Wang's appraisal skills. Zhou Wentong wasn't stingy with his compliments. After all, Wang Ji had done a great job this time. After all, Zhou Wentong knew very well that it was a stretch to ask someone from Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association to appraise the 11 mutated eggs yesterday. What the city lord meant was for them to appraise as many as they could before inviting a rank 3 beast appraiser from headquarters to take a look at them. But who would have thought that Wang Ji would handle this matter so well? The travel-worn rank 3 beast appraiser nodded in agreement after reading the evaluation report. He even said that there were some eggs that even he wouldn't be able to make a decision on. Yet, Wang Ji's evaluation report was able to make deductions based on some ingenious details. Just based on this, Wang Ji was undoubtedly talented and had boundless potential when it came to beast appraising. Wang Ji's face was glowing as he said, "It's all part of my job. Although I had to stay up all night, as long as the city lord is satisfied, then I'm satisfied." Obviously, Wang Ji had already pasted this glory on his own head. "Also, the city lord is very pleased with the gift you gave us. I didn't expect you to be so resourceful to be able to get your hands on Master Gu's painting." Wang Ji was stunned by Zhuo Wentong's words. What Master Gu's painting?" Puzzled, Wang Ji instinctively asked, "Is it Master Gu Mingzhong?" Zhuo Wentong thought Wang Ji was saying this on purpose, so he laughed. "Could there be another Master Gu?" "Chief Wang, you're being too kind this time. The city lord said that he will be hosting a banquet tonight for an important guest from the royal city. Chief Wang, you should come as well." Wang Ji was already feeling guilty, so he didn't probe further. Instead, he mumbled to himself, "I don't even have Master Gu Mingzhong's painting, so why would I give it to you? Maybe you're mistaken." Chapter 44. Gu Mingzhong chatted with Lin Jin for a long time. He told Lin Jin that he would be staying in Maple City for a while longer before he left. He had kept a low profile during his visit so no one recognized him, except for Lu Yunhe. However, the latter obviously wouldn't spread the news as he was now in awe of Lin Jin. After all, he was counting on Lin Jin to appraise his pet beast. Perhaps because Lin Jin was in a good mood, and because of his relationship with Lu Xiaoyun, he had Lu Yunhe bring his pet beast here. That lion named Lu Ba was indeed ferocious. It was also a rare beast at rank 2 with decent potential. Lin Jin reached out to touch it. Everything was within his grasp. "We're all on the same side, so I won't charge you any money. Ask whatever you want." Lin Jin was in a good mood. Before Gu Mingzhong left, he had painted a new painting for him. How could he not be in a good mood now that he had a priceless painting in his hands? Lu Yunhe quickly asked, "Is there an evolution method?" There was a world of difference between a rank 2 and a rank 3 pet beast. As a pet beast cultivator, Lu Yunhe had always dreamed of upgrading his pet beast to rank 3. By then, with his blood contract cultivation, the strength he obtained from his pet beast alone would be enough for him to fight a rank 2 pet beast without relying on his pet beast. This was only one of the benefits. The biggest one was that his status in the Friar Association would be elevated. The Friar Association was filled with geniuses and the competition was fierce. Cultivation resources and status were all things that had to be fought for. Lu Yunhe was under a lot of pressure. If he had a rank 3 pet beast, none of this would be a problem. Because even his mentor's pet beast was only rank 3. Upon hearing Lu Yunhe's direct question, Lu Xiaoyun quickly said, "Brother, it's not that easy to promote a rank 2 to rank 3 pet beast. You can count the number of rank 3 pet beasts in Maple City on your fingers. This isn't an easy task. Appraiser Lin might not, yes?" Lin Jin suddenly said. At this, Lu Xiaoyun fell silent. Had it been before, she would never have believed it. As an apprentice beast appraiser herself, she knew how difficult it was to promote a pet beast. Most pet beasts would never be able to evolve in their lifetime. Only a few of them could achieve rank 2 at most. As for rank 3, most people didn't even dare to think about it. It wasn't that they couldn't afford it, but there was no other way. If you want to go up the mountain, but there is no path, how will you go up? By the same logic, at least according to Lu Xiaoyun's knowledge, it was impossible for Lu Ba to advance to the 3rd level, at least for now. But if appraiser Lin said there was, then things would be different. Because there might really be such a thing. At this thought, Lu Xiaoyun became excited. Firstly, she was happy for her brother. Secondly, she wanted to carefully observe how appraiser Lin helped this pet beast evolve, which was supposed to be impossible for the next 10 years. Even if it was just a suggestion, it was enough for her to learn some skills and enjoy endless benefit. Appraiser Lin, do you really have a way? Happiness came so suddenly that Lu Yunhe found it surreal. Without wasting any time, Lin Jin retrieved a brush and paper, dipped it in ink, and started writing. There were some things that couldn't be explained clearly just by talking. It was better to write it down and see it clearly. In the Museum of Deadly Beasts, there were several evolution methods for Lu Yunhe's pet beast. Among them, there was the perfect evolution method that Xiao Hua chose. However, because Lu Yunhe's pet beast was a rare beast that was already rank 2, choosing the perfect evolution method was too difficult. Forget about everything else, just the wind crystal alone was impossible to obtain, not to mention the fact that he needed to refine a pill like the 9 Hell Wind stabilizing pill. Lin Jin shook his head as he read the list of ingredients. Forget the fact that it was impossible to obtain them in Maple City. Even if he did, Lu Yunhe wouldn't be able to afford them even if he sold it. Halfway through his writing, Lin Jin suddenly remembered something and looked up at Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun. The two girls leaned over to study Lin Jin's writing so closely that their heads almost collided with his. When he suddenly looked up, they were startled and quickly shrunk back. Zhao Ying blushed while Lu Xiaoyun stuck her tongue out mischievously. I forgot that you two are studying under me and I haven't officially taught you anything yet. Why don't I give you a lesson today? Lin Jin was a little embarrassed. Strictly speaking, his beast appraising skills and basic knowledge weren't too different from the two girls. If he were to start from the basics, there wouldn't be much to talk about and he wouldn't be able to do so either. The moment he opened his mouth, the cat would be out of the bag. However, if he were to follow the museum's content and understand it, things would be different. Lin Jin believed that Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun would be able to learn something. Upon hearing this, Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun perked up and their eyes lit up with excitement. It was finally here. Appraiser Lin was finally going to give them a lesson during a beast appraisal. This was a rare opportunity. Over the past 2 days, the two girls had seen Lin Jin appraise beasts, but they couldn't understand what he was doing. In fact, according to the rules of beast appraisal, appraiser Lin's methods were simply unimaginable. He didn't seem to need any auxiliary tools or spells to appraise beasts. It could only be said that appraiser Lin's realm was too high. The two girls even went as far as to look into appraiser Lin's beast appraisal method, and they really did find one. Legend has it that there was once a beast observation and pet evaluation method that didn't require any other tools to appraise beasts. However, this method was extremely difficult as it was extremely demanding on the beast appraiser's knowledge, experience, and judgment. Hence, only a handful of people knew how to do it. The two girls were certain that appraiser Lin had mastered this beast observation appraisal method. Lin Jian had no idea what they were thinking. Since he wanted to give a lesson, he didn't continue writing his evaluation report. Instead, he pointed at Lu Ba and said, "You two can appraise first. Use the methods you're good at and tell me the result." The two girls took a deep breath and began their appraisal. Zhao Ying had a steady personality and her methods were extremely traditional. She used various beast talismans to test the pet beast's attributes, deduced its bloodline, performed hand seals, and used her own spirit energy to examine the pet beast's condition. Everything was done in an orderly manner. It was obvious that Zhao Ying's basic skills were solid. Lu Xiaoyun was different. Her main method of appraising beasts was to awaken her spiritual eye. Spiritual eye allowed her to observe down to the smallest detail. She could observe a pet beast's fur, pupils, and condition. She could even see through the pet beast's internal organs and bones. Of course, this required a solid foundation of knowledge. Otherwise, even if she could see through it, she wouldn't be able to form a conclusion. Having his blood drawn and fur plucked, Lu Ba looked aggrieved as he turned to Lu Yunhe. The latter could only try to persuade him. Lu Ba, this is all for your own good. If you want to evolve, you'll have to endure some hardship. How can you see the rainbow if you don't go through hardships? The two girls shared their conclusions with Lin Jin. They were able to appraise some basic information, but they couldn't explain any deeper details like the evolution method. Lin Jin smiled and said to Zhaoying, I know your basic knowledge is solid. Be more daring. Even if it's just some speculations, that's fine too. Seemingly encouraged, Zhaoying said, Appraiser Lin, if I'm not mistaken, Lu Ba's bloodline should be a Gale Lion with a wind attribute. He's currently rank 2 and has a good physique. If he wants to evolve, he'll need to strengthen his bones, internal organs, and blood. At the same time, he'll need to constantly feed him spirit stones to expand his acupoints. With time, he might be able to evolve. At this, Zhaoying paused, feeling a little nervous. Lin Jin nodded. This is the standard method. Lu Xiaoyun, go on. On the other side, Lu Xiaoyun immediately raised her eyebrows and said, The result of my appraisal is that her basic attributes are the same as Yingying's. However, I feel that we should be bolder in terms of the advancement method. Not only should we increase the amount of spirit stones consumed, but we also need to use the spirit needle acupuncture technique and use external force. This way we can at least cut the advancement time by half. Chapter 45. Based on the standards of apprentices, Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun were considered top-notch. Frankly speaking, Lin Jin couldn't comment much on these basic operations. He could only use the museum's description of the evolution method to deduce the theory. Lin Jin shook his head. It's still too conservative. As beast appraisers, we can't just follow the rules. Comparatively speaking, Xiaoyun's method is better. After all, it can shorten the evolution time. But it's still not bold enough. Lu Xiaoyun was unconvinced. Appraiser Lin, what do you think is bold then? Lin Jin recalled a theory he learned in school, and it was perfect for him to apply it here. He said, Beast appraising is like marching to war. Think about it. Halfway through a journey, the army runs into a steep mountain with no way up. Or perhaps a raging river cuts off the road, making it difficult to cross. What should one do in such a situation? Do one have to take a detour or even return the way they came? This theory was clearly novel and practical. Both Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun were fascinated by it. What else can one do? Taking a detour is also a method, Zhao Ying answered honestly. Zhao Ying said honestly. Lu Xiaoyun also nodded. It seemed that in their minds this was the only way. Lin Jin shook his head. Then, he tilted his head up slightly, his gaze deep as he gazed into the distance. After getting into position, he said in a deep voice, Beast appraising is like marching to war. In such a situation, one has to open a path for every mountain and build a bridge for every river. Open a path for every mountain and build a bridge for every river. The two women's eyes lit up. They were stunned by this sentence. How bold and confident did he have to be to say something like this? Moreover, one could sense an indomitable stubbornness and courage from his words. Lin Jin was still full of knowledge. He slammed the table and stood up, saying, If the heavens don't let you, will you just wait for death? In life, one must do difficult things and perform heroic deeds. Only then will one's life not be in vain. The same goes for pet beasts' evolution method. You mustn't be restricted. If there's no path, you won't dare to take it. If there's no path, you'll only think about retreating. If that's the case, how can a pet beast evolve? I get it. Lu Xiaoyun's face was flushed with excitement. She turned to Lu Ba. The latter shuddered in fear and lowered his head to hide behind Lu Yunhe. It was a pity that his body was so large that half of his butt was exposed. Tell me, Lin Jin encouraged. In my opinion, we should feed Lu Ba some medicine that can open up his acupoints and gather spiritual energy. Furthermore, we should increase the dosage. Apart from that, he needs to fight continuously. Not only will he train his muscles and bones, but he will also be able to break through his potential. In this way, he can forcefully increase his strength. In less than a year, he will definitely show signs of leveling up, Lu Xiaoyun said confidently. Lu Ba was on the verge of tears again. Lin Jin suddenly spoke up to correct her. That's the right idea, but the method isn't thought through. Every medicine has its side effects. By increasing the dosage, even if the pet beast evolves in the future, its lifespan will be shortened, and its potential will be affected. Also, through the influence of the blood contract, the pet beast might even bite back at its owner. Lu Yunhe heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Xiaoyun stuck out her tongue and said with some dissatisfaction, "It's already not easy for me to think of this method in such a short time. At most, I'll think about it again." On the other side, Zhao Ying had been in deep thought. She was even quieter than the others. At this moment, she spoke up, "Yes, the pills must be taken, but they must be tailored to the symptoms. Other than that, we can use elemental power to activate Lu Ba's potential. It would be best if we can activate his bloodline. It should be effective." Lin Jin nodded and praised her. On this point, Zhao Ying was indeed more composed. "So, how do we choose the pills? How do we refine them? How do we use elemental power to activate the pet beast's bloodline?" Lin Jin continued asking questions. While it sounded like he was asking, he was actually guiding them. This involved a relatively profound theory, and it also required extremely strong practical experience to make a judgment and choice. The two women frowned and pondered carefully. Lin Jin wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he waited patiently. This feeling of teaching others was quite satisfying. If both girls could improve, he would feel a great sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. Without interrupting their contemplation, Lin Jin went to the consultation hall in front and stretched his limbs. Lu Yunhe guessed that he had other matters to attend to, so he couldn't stay here forever. Hence, he bade farewell to Lin Jin and left with Lu Ba. As they left, Lu Ba was in a hurry. As if Lin Jin's consultation hall was a dangerous place, he dragged Lu Yunhe and fled. After Lu Yunhe left, Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun continued to discuss their evolution strategies. Lin Jin had nothing else to do. Since it was still early, he might as well go home and take a look. Yesterday, Lin Jin hired some workers to repair his house and yard. He had to go back and check on their progress. After all, he had spent some money on it. Without disturbing the two apprentices, Lin Jin led Xiao Hua out of the association and headed home. Maple City's city area wasn't small. To get home, Lin Jin had to pass through 2 main streets and 4 alleys. Along the way, he found it interesting to observe the otherworldly sights and the vendors on the street. Just a few days ago, he was just an ordinary person in the modern world. Halfway through his journey, he passed by a medicine hall. Lin Jin wanted to buy some medicinal ingredients so he could refine some energy-gathering pills. These pills could be consumed by pet beasts or humans. Xiao Hua, Zhao Ying, and Lu Xiaoyun's pet beasts could consume some energy-gathering pills daily to slowly increase their strength and show signs of evolution earlier. This medicine hall was located in a decent location. The signboard was extravagant and the lobby was bright and spacious. There were more than 10 counters inside and medicine drawers were densely packed. 7 to 8 employees were serving customers. Taking a deep breath, Lin Jin could smell the aroma of medicine. Perhaps it was because of Lin Jin's one-ring beast tattoo sleeve. An employee immediately came over to greet him. "You must be appraiser Lin?" the employee suddenly asked after noticing the one-ring beast tattoo on Lin Jin's sleeve. Lin Jin was a little excited. After all, if someone could recognize him without even announcing his name, it meant that he had some reputation. So, tidying his clothes and straightening his back, Lin Jin asked, "You know me?" The employee smiled. "Even if I haven't met you before, I've heard of you. After all, there are only two official rank 1 beast appraisers in Maple City. One of them is the young master of the Gao family whom everyone knows, and the other one is none other than you." That was true. Just then, the employee continued, "Moreover, you have a special relationship with our Chun Medicine Hall. As employees, how could we not recognize you?" This time, Lin Jin was puzzled. This medicine hall was called Chin Medicine Hall, but he didn't seem to have any relationship with this Chin Medicine Hall, right? Could it be his predecessor? Lin Jin tried to find some answers from his predecessor's memories, but as soon as he tried, he felt dizzy. It seemed like his predecessor's memories of this Chin Medicine Hall were fragmented, or rather, he didn't want to remember it. Why was that? Lin Jin stopped thinking about it. His predecessor was his predecessor and he was himself. Even if there was a grudge between them, it had nothing to do with him. "Appraiser Lin, are you here to get the medicine? Or are you here to look for our young mistress?" The employee asked again. Why was there another young mistress? Memories began surging out of his mind. Like a wound that had already scabbed over was suddenly reopened, or like feces in a cesspool being boiled and bubbling. Some bad memories that he wanted to forget popped up in his mind. Lin Jin felt dizzy and his head hurt. Noticing this, the employee wanted to help him up but was scared away by Xiaohuo. Xiaohuo was clearly worried about Lin Jin, so he could only watch helplessly. Fortunately, Lin Jin recovered quickly. F***ck, so that's what happened. Say, my predecessor, you're such a coward. Isn't it just a woman? Do you have to do this? Chapter 46. It had only been a few days since Lin Jin transmigrated to this world, and this body's memories were like countless dusty books. Not all of them could be inherited by Lin Jin immediately. Lin Jin didn't know about the painful memories that the original owner didn't want to remember. But once he touched them, they would resurface on their own. Lin Jin studied those memories and only felt one word: useless. Of course, this was his predecessor's fault. He wasn't willing to shoulder it. The situation was simple. Lin Jin's predecessor was once engaged to the daughter of the Qin family's medicine hall, Qin Yuan. One was a down-and-out beast appraiser, while the other was a medicine hall's daughter. They were supposed to be completely unrelated, but because Lin Jin wasn't down and out when he first became an official beast appraiser, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was riding on the crest of success. Back then, Lin Jin had saved an elderly man along the way. That elderly man was none other than the owner of the Qin Medicine Hall, Chen Wenlin. Chen Wenlin was a well-educated and reasonable man. Since Lin Jin saved his life, he was obviously grateful, so he invited Lin Jin to his house and held a banquet to thank him. After a while, when he found out that Lin Jin was an official beast appraiser, Chen Wenjie decided to betroth his daughter, Chen Yuan, to Lin Jin in return. Back then, Su Yuan came out too. When they met, the good-for-nothing Lin Jin took a liking to her and agreed to the engagement. Su Yuan didn't say anything back then. After all, marriage was decided by one's parents. Or rather, she had taken a liking to Lin Jin. It was fine at first. The good-for-nothing Lin Jin and Su Yuan met on a few dates. It was romantic and poetic, but the good times didn't last. One day, Su Yuan stopped paying attention to Lin Jin. Not only did they stop seeing each other, but she also made derogatory remarks about him. She even wanted to call off the engagement. Unfortunately, the good-for-nothing Lin Jin was so infatuated that he embarrassed himself quite a bit. Su Yuan's mother passed away when she was young and Chen Wenlin was busy with his business, so she lacked discipline and acted willfully. She cried, threw a tantrum, and even threatened to hang herself, forcing Chen Wenlin to call off the engagement. One could imagine how Lin Jean became a laughingstock. The blow back then, to put it in modern terms, had made him autistic and depressed. Truth be told, to Lin Jean, this wasn't a big deal at all. Why did he become autistic? You thought that you could spend the rest of your life with me after seeing me for a few times. Coward, you coward. This was what happened in his memories. Lin Jean shook his head, dispelling the negative emotions in his mind. The coward from before was dead. Now, Lin Jean was the one in charge. Chen Yuan? I don't even like Gao Yuan. Opening his eyes, Lin Jean was no longer affected by that memory. After all, the past was the past. He couldn't possibly go over there and yell at them. Life is full of ups and downs, don't bully the young for being poor or something like that. He just had to do what he had to do. Today, he was here to buy medicinal herbs. It was that simple. Buddy, come here. I'll get the medicine. Lin Jean called the shop assistant over. Then, he took out a pen and paper and wrote down the herbs needed to concoct the energy-gathering pill one by one. Then, he asked the assistant to get the herbs. The waiter didn't ask any more questions and went to get the medicine. Lin Jean waited on the spot, looking around. He had to admit that the Chen family's business was pretty good. There was an endless stream of people coming and going. Just then, a few people came in. Leading the group was a woman about the same age as Lin Jean. She wore a pink pleated skirt and a white mink shawl. Her shirt was buttoned up to her waist, accentuating her lithe figure. Her facial features were regular and beautiful, but her expression was currently cold. This is outrageous. Zhu Yingying is just relying on her family's influence. In terms of looks and figure, which part of her is better than me? Why can she go to the Red Leaf Flower Festival but I can't? The woman yelled as she walked in. The people along the way were so frightened that they parted to make way for her. Beside this woman was a pet beast, a maned jackal. Although it was a dog, it was an extremely ferocious beast. It was written in books that jackals with manies were known as maned jackals. They had strong physiques, sharp teeth, and the strength to fight lions and tigers. They were greedy and bloodthirsty. Of course, maned jackals weren't considered rare beasts, but among regular pet beasts they were definitely one of the top in terms of ferocity. This woman's pet beast was so ferocious that no one dared to go near it. The attendants who came with the woman didn't dare to make a sound, afraid of angering their mistress. At the sight of this woman, Lin Jean shook his head. What a coincidence! Not only did he stumble into the Chen Medicine Hall today, but he also bumped into Chen Yuan, the woman who had captivated his good-for-nothing predecessor. It was a pity that Lin Jean now had high standards. After all, both Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun were outstanding beauties, much better than this Chen Yuan. After seeing such beautiful women every day, it would be strange if his taste wasn't picky. Lin Jean wasn't familiar with Chen Yuan, so he pretended not to see her. But as soon as Chen Yuan entered, she saw Lin Jean. This allowed her to find a place to vent her anger that she had nowhere to vent. She raised her eyebrows and pointed a finger at Lin Jean. Who let this piece of trash in? One of the employees immediately came over to speak. Lin Jean frowned. This Chen Yuan had no manners at all. She didn't look like a lady from a wealthy family at all. Perhaps after hearing the employee's words, Chen Yuan sneered. Buy medicine? Does he have money? He's just a pauper. Open your eyes wider. Don't let him steal anything. If he loses anything, I'll hold you responsible. F***ck. Lin Jean was infuriated. This woman was a mad dog. Lin Jean couldn't be bothered with someone like her. Since he couldn't afford to offend her, he could hide from her. Also, Maple City was a huge place with many medicine halls. It wasn't like he had to buy medicine from the Chen Medicine Hall. He got up and headed outside. Lin Jean couldn't be bothered to spare this woman a second glance. However, Lin Jean had underestimated one thing. To some hysterical women, this sort of disregard was equivalent to a declaration of war. Using their weird logic, Who do you think you are? What right do you have to ignore me? Lin Jin, stop right there, Chen Yuanyuan bellowed. Lin Jin didn't even turn around. He had always maintained a respectful distance from people with mental issues. This made Chen Yuanyuan even angrier. Her lack of upbringing had made her hot-tempered and irascible. She would never consider the consequences of her actions. She was already filled with anger, but now her anger erupted once more. And all her anger was directed at Lin Jin. Bite him! At Su Yuanyuan's command, her pet beast immediately pounced on the jackal. Usually, she would let her pet beast bite people. However, this pet beast wouldn't dare to actually bite someone to death. Usually, it would just be a small bite and some compensation would be paid. Hence, her domineering personality had been nurtured. However, little did she know that she would be kicking an iron plate this time, and the hardest iron plate at that. Lin Jin still didn't turn around. Only Xiaohua did, glancing at the main jackal. His rank 3 pet beast's deterrence ability was unleashed in an instant and retracted in the blink of an eye. Like a peerless swordsman, he unsheathed his sword and sheathed it. In the blink of an eye, the maned jackal's eyes rolled back and it fainted from the immense aura of a beast king. Although it might seem exaggerated, it was the truth. A single glare from Xiaohua was enough to make a pet beast faint. A perfect rank 3 pet beast against a regular rank 1 dog beast. The difference was overwhelming. Moreover, Xiaohua had cultivated the beast energy formation. In ancient times, he would be a legendary energy practitioner. Knocking out a low-level beast was a piece of cake for him. Outside, Lin Jin's back was proud and aloof. His clothes fluttered in the wind as he walked away in a carefree manner. Xiaohua followed closely behind him, his fur also fluttering in the wind, leaving behind the dumbfounded passers-by and Chen Yuanyuan, who was so shocked that she forgot to curse. Chapter 47. It took Chen Yuanyuan a long time to regain her senses. Lin Jin, how dare you do this to me? She was gnashing her teeth. Most people would reflect upon themselves when faced with such a situation. But there were some people in this world who didn't know how to reflect. They felt that everyone should revolve around them and that the ones at fault would always be others, never themselves. The person who used to be so obedient and admired her suddenly ignored her and even rebelled against her. This made her dizzy with anger. Miss, General Weiwu has fainted. One of the Chen family's servants went over to check on the pet beast. The maned jackal's eyes were rolled back and it was foaming at the mouth. Its 4 legs would twitch from time to time and no one could wake it up. It was completely unconscious. I'm not blind. Chen Yuanyuan had named her pet beast General Weiwu because of its ferocity. Who knew it would pass out so suddenly? She had no idea what was going on. Lin Jin, how dare you ignore me today and embarrass me so much? Just you wait, this isn't over. Chen Yuanyuan was so angry that she kicked General Weiwu. Not only did poor General Weiwu pass out, but he also suffered a beating for no reason. After leaving another medicine hall, Lin Jin bought the materials needed to refine the energy-gathering pill. Speaking of the energy-gathering pill, there were no records of it in any books as the pill recipe had long been lost. However, Lin Jin could find the corresponding recipe and refinement method from the Museum of Deadly Beasts' many methods of strengthening pet beasts' physique. Lin Jin already had some ideas on how to obtain benefits from the museum. For example, the 6 Suns Beast Soul Pill he refined previously didn't exist in this world. But because it was required for Xiaohua's perfect evolution method, the museum had detailed information about it. In other words, through this method, Lin Jin could obtain more benefits than just beast deterrence and the beast energy formation. Just the pill recipe alone was more than enough for him to dig out. Now that he had the materials and the pellet furnace, Lin Jin couldn't be bothered to buy it, so he just borrowed it from Lu Yunhe. When he got home, a few craftsmen were working in full swing. The frame of the house that was originally burned down had been rebuilt. It was estimated that it would be repaired in a few days. The new house was bigger and made of better materials. When the foreman saw Lin Jin, he immediately came over to greet him. "Appraiser Lin, you're here." The foreman was a local and was quite honest. Some of the workers' pet beasts were transporting wood. Some were mules, some were horses. These pet beasts were practical, and the foreman's pet beast was a large monkey. Climbing high and low and installing mortise and tenon joints at high places were much more efficient than humans. Lin Jin skimmed through it and was quite satisfied with it. He paid them for the day's work without hesitation. At this moment, the old bull that was transporting the stones suddenly fell to the ground and couldn't get up. A few of the craftsmen became anxious and went to check on it. However, no matter how much they kicked and hit it, the old bull wouldn't get up. It just stared at it and panted heavily. "Lu Laosan, what's wrong with your pet beast? No matter what, we have to move the stones away. It's blocking the road," the foreman said anxiously. The old bull happened to be lying in the middle of the road. With it blocking the road, it would be troublesome if carriages couldn't get through. The craftsman named Lu Laosan was also anxious. "I don't know what's going on either. I've never encountered something like this before. It won't get up no matter what I say." "Is it sick?" "That's possible. What do we do now? There's so much stone and we can't move it away at once." By now, the carriages behind them had been blocked. Many of the neighbors had come to watch the commotion. Lin Jin strode over. Since he had encountered this problem, he might as well take a look. After all, as long as it was a pet beast, Lin Jin had absolute confidence that he could solve it. "Let me take a look." Lin Jin pushed through the crowd and headed inside. Most of the people here recognized Lin Jin and knew that he was a beast appraiser. However, due to Lin Jin's bad reputation, even the neighbors wouldn't approach him for evaluation. They didn't trust him from the bottom of their hearts. The same went for the craftsmen. They clearly didn't have much confidence in Lin Jin. From this point alone, the destructive power of rumors was apparent, especially to the average person. They believed these rumors without a shred of doubt, especially when it came to the appraisal accident. To them, Lin Jin's skills weren't up to par. "Why don't we get a veterinarian to take a look?" At this, Lin Jin smiled bitterly. However, he didn't mind these people's gazes and distrust. First, he took a look at the old bull. The bull was huge in size and its skin was coarse and thick. It had obviously been working hard for a long period of time, as its skin was covered in cracks. Judging by the horns, hooves, and the bottom of its eyes, the bull's horns were cracked and so were its hooves. The bull's eyes were bleeding and its eyes were wide open, exhaling but not inhaling. This was definitely an emergency. But what embarrassed Lin Jin was that with his abilities, without the Museum of Deadly Beasts, he couldn't tell what kind of emergency this was, nor did he know how to treat it. Lin Jin was worrying too much. Forget him, even Wang Ji would be at a loss when faced with an emergency like this. Now that the situation was dire and the old bull was about to die, Lin Jin wasted no time and immediately reached out to touch the bull's head. In an instant, the Museum of Deadly Beasts had the old bull's specimen and information tablet. Rank 1 Pet Beast Land Bull. Earth Attribute. Potential Rate 1. Current Status Emergency. Brain damaged. Near death state. Treatment steps are as follows. Just as Lin Jin predicted, the old bull was suffering from an emergency and it was a life-threatening one. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that forget Wang Ji, even a rank 3 beast appraiser wouldn't be able to do anything in this situation. But even in such a dire situation, the museum still had a treatment method. Lin Jin quickly scanned through and had an idea. Following the museum's detailed treatment steps, he condensed a spirit energy finger and jabbed it at the Lingguan acupoint on the old bull's head. Spirit energy finger was a simple spell. As an official beast appraiser, his predecessor wasn't so useless that he didn't even know this basic technique. Hence, with his inherited memories, Lin Jin could perform it easily. With the enhancement of spirit energy and the help of his pet beast's fire spirit, his body was as sharp as a blade. With just one finger, a small hole opened up on the old bull's head and blood immediately gushed out. Everyone around was startled. "Appraiser Lin, what are you doing?" The old bull's owner panicked. With reddened eyes, he wanted to argue with Lin Jin, but fortunately, someone stopped him. Lin Jin didn't have time to deal with them. The old bull's condition was critical and he couldn't afford to waste any time. He had to focus on the next step of treatment. Hence, with a thought, Xiao stood guard beside him to prevent others from interfering. The old bull's blood flowed out, but Lin Jin didn't avoid it. His clothes were stained, but he didn't mind. That finger strike just now was just right. The reason why it was so accurate was because the old cow specimen that the Museum of Deadly Beasts had condensed had marked the specific acupoint. It was like comparing an actual object, so it would be strange if he made a mistake. Then, Lin Jin struck the old bull's acupoint. It was odd, but after just a few simple strikes, the old bull's breathing calmed down. The situation clearly wasn't that critical anymore. The old bull's tail even started wagging, but it still couldn't stand up. "All right." Lin Jin flicked the blood off his hand and got up to pluck a leaf from a nearby tree. He also got someone to gather some grass ash. Then, he took out a medicinal herb he bought from the medicine hall and chewed it up before applying it to the old bull's wound. Then, he applied the grass ash and the leaf over the wound, and that was it. "Don't let it work today. It should be fine after resting for 2 days." Lin Jin turned and said. Then, he patted the bull's head and something happened that left everyone dumbfounded. The old bull wagged its tail, shook its head, and stood up to walk over to its owner. Amazing! Everyone clearly saw that the old bull was only exhaling but not inhaling. It looked like it was going to die, so how did it manage to stand up on its own in such a short time? Although the crowd didn't know how to treat pet beasts, they weren't blind. How could they not tell that it was Lin Jin who saved the old bull from a sudden emergency? The most excited one was the bull's owner. This blacksmith came from an average family, and to him, the old bull was a very important asset. He relied on the bull to transport his work, so he couldn't live without it. More importantly, it had been with him for more than a decade, so they had developed a bond. The bull was no different from family. Earlier, he was so excited that he wanted to argue with the owner. Now that he thought about it, it was fortunate that someone stopped him. Otherwise, he might have disturbed Appraiser Lin. Now that he looked at Appraiser Lin, in order to save his pet beast, the old bull, he didn't even care about being reprimanded. His hands and clothes were stained with blood. His generosity and character were truly admirable. Appraiser Lin, I. The more the blacksmith thought about it, the more embarrassed he became. He immediately went forward and knelt on the ground. Lin Jian smiled and helped him up, saying, "I specialize in beast appraising. How could I stand by and do nothing in a situation like this?" "Well said." The foreman was the first to applaud. He had witnessed what happened today with his own eyes. Previously, they had only heard that Lin Jin was incompetent and relied on luck to become a beast appraiser, and that he had even caused an appraisal accident. Hence, they had been spreading false rumors. But what they saw today proved those rumors to be bullsh*t. With such a doctor's benevolence, generosity, and skills, anyone who still believed in those rumors would have to be out of their minds. In the face of reality, the rumors crumbled on their own. Chapter 48. Appraiser Lin, your clothes. I'll get you a new one, the old bull's owner suddenly said. Lin Jin waved his hand. It's fine. It's just some blood. I'll just wash it off. Lin Jin clearly didn't mind. The blacksmiths and foremen were now convinced by Lin Jin's abilities. Lin Jin didn't take it to heart. As for the fee, he didn't really mind it. Just then, someone called out, "Appraiser Lin." Lin Jin turned to see a tall, elderly man in black attire. He also looked familiar. Lin Jin remembered. He was the follower of that strange man he met at the association 2 days ago. Not only did this old man refuse to pay, he even injured Lin Jin and Xiao Hua before he left. "It's you? What are you trying to do?" Lin Jin's expression darkened. Xiao Hua let out a low growl, ready to pounce at any moment. The old man dressed in black was the travel-worn Lu Bin who had rushed over from Jade Dragon City. The sixth princess, Hiyu, was still unconscious and the palace doctors were helpless. Lu Bin recalled Lin Jin's words in Maple City a few days ago, so he rushed over to see if he could find a ray of hope to save the sixth princess. Of course, his identity was still a secret and he had no intention of revealing it. On his way here, he first went to the Beast Appraisal Association but couldn't find Lin Jin. After asking passers-by, he found his way here and happened to see Lin Jin treating the old bull. He was also the one who stopped the bull's owner earlier. Lu Bin had witnessed the entire process of Lin Jin saving the old bull. Although it was a small matter, Lu Bin could tell that Lin Jin was no ordinary person. If he was right, the old bull's internal veins were ruptured. There was almost no way to save such a situation and death was the only outcome. Yet, Lin Jin easily resolved this fatal situation. At this sight, Lu Bin knew that Lin Jin was a powerhouse. In addition, Lu Bin's meticulous observation allowed him to observe Lin Jin's pet beast. 2 days ago, it was still a rank 1 firewolf with nothing special about it. But in just 2 days, it was as if it had been reborn. Lu Bin even felt threatened by it. Lu Bin's identity was special and he was skilled. If even Lu Bin felt threatened, it couldn't just be a rank 1 or 2 pet beast. Lu Bin suspected that Lin Jin's firewolf was already at rank 3. What kind of person could evolve their pet beast consecutively in such a short period of time? This was practically impossible. Hence, his opinion of Lin Jin rose even higher. Since he was here to seek treatment, his attitude was more respectful. "Appraiser Lin, I was reckless the day before. Please forgive me." Lu Bin saluted. If the nobles of the royal city were to see this, their jaws would probably drop. To think that the famous General Lu would be so courteous to a mere rank 1 beast appraiser, even taking the initiative to apologize. This was unimaginable. Lin Jin didn't know who he was, but he knew that this old man was either rich or respectable. The last time he attacked, the Museum of Deadly Beasts reacted when he touched Lin Jin with a finger. It was only later that Lin Jin found out that if a blood contract cultivator were to touch them, they could indirectly learn about their pet beast. This old man in black was the strongest expert Lin Jin had ever met. With an attitude of staying out of trouble, keeping a low profile, and enjoying life, Lin Jin would try his best not to provoke someone who was obviously of high status. Since the old man had taken the initiative to apologize, it couldn't be anything good, so Lin Jin replied nonchalantly, "It's just a small matter. I've forgotten about it, so don't take it to heart." Having said that, he turned to leave. It had only been a few days since he transmigrated here, so Lin Jin didn't want to get involved in any trouble. As for the old man's intention, it didn't take much thought to figure out that something must have happened to that crossdresser. Lin Jin shouldn't have said anything back then. Seeing that Lin Jin was about to leave, Lu Bin immediately stopped him. "Appraiser Lin, please wait. I'm here to ask for a favor." "What is it?" Lin Jin asked nonchalantly, even though he already knew the answer. Lu Bin took a deep breath. "Appraiser Lin, with your sharp eyes, you managed to identify the curse in my young master's body. Today, I'm here to seek treatment." Sure enough, Lin Jin was infuriated at the thought of it. Back then, he was being kind, but the other party didn't listen to him and even injured him. Now, he was here to ask for help. Did they think Lin Jin had no temper? Moreover, why should he help them? Lin Jin shook his head. "Mr. Lu, you must have gotten the wrong person. I'm a beast appraiser, not a physician. Lu Bin could tell that Lin Jin's anger had yet to subside. You even said that I forgot about a small matter. Lin Jin clearly remembered it and was very concerned about it. Appraiser Lin, I was at fault for what happened that day. But my young master is in grave danger now. If I can appease Appraiser Lin and help me, I'm willing to cut off my arm as an apology. After bowing, he actually pulled out a dagger from his waist and sliced off his left arm. Lin Jin's scalp tingled. Xiao Hua. The rank 3 Xiao Hua and Lin Jin were telepathically connected. Xiao Hua darted toward Lu Bin to stop him from harming himself. Even so, the dagger still pierced half a foot into Lu Bin's arm, causing blood to gush out. Having lived 2 lives, Lin Jin considered himself to be knowledgeable, but he had never met such a ferocious person who wanted to cut off his own arm after just a few words. Was he crazy? Lin Jin couldn't understand, so he had Xiao Hua stop him in a moment of desperation. However, he didn't notice the cunning glint in Lu Bin's eyes. Lin Jin didn't know what to do against such a ruthless person. Having never met such a person before, he didn't know how to deal with him. Both of them went to a private room in a nearby tea house. Lu Bin tossed a silver ingot to the waiter, telling him not to disturb them. Appraiser Lin, I was as blind as a bat a few days ago. I really didn't know that Appraiser Lin was such a skillful person. Appraiser Lin is a kind-hearted person who even lent a helping hand to that old bull, unwilling to see it die. Now that someone's condition has worsened, how could you stand by and do nothing? Since Appraiser Lin was able to identify the cause of the illness, he must have a solution. Whether or not the solution is effective, I, Lu Bin, will never forget your kindness. Admittedly, Lu Bin was a good talker and he could easily manipulate people's minds. Lin Jin frowned as if deep in thought. Lu Bin continued, Right, I haven't introduced myself. I am. Lin Jin quickly reached out to stop him. Don't say it. Please don't say it. I'm not interested in who you are. I'm not interested in that woman in men's clothing either. I don't want to cause any trouble either. These were Lin Jin's heartfelt words. This fierce man had used a knife to harm himself without batting an eyelid. He was definitely not an average person. He could be a dignitary or a bandit. Either way, Lin Jin felt the latter was more likely. Lin Jin had no intention of befriending such a dangerous person. For example, that woman in men's clothing. The curse within her was terrifying. At least, that was what the museum said. It didn't take a genius to figure out that this was a trap. Now, Lin Jin only hoped that he wouldn't be dragged into this trap, so he could continue being a happy little beast appraiser. If we can't afford to offend them, we can afford to hide. Lin Jin took out a pen and paper and wrote on it, Take the 9-water floating cloud pill with Dracaena once a day. The recipe for the 9-water floating cloud pill. Once he was done, he handed the paper to Lin Jin. This is the treatment method. Just follow it. It's getting late, so I won't keep you for dinner. After handing him the paper, Lin Jin turned to leave. Lu Bin didn't stop him this time because he was stunned by what was written on the paper. This is a prescription. The 9-water floating cloud pill has such a detailed recipe, and he gave it to me just like that? It wasn't that Lu Bin was overreacting, but this was just too shocking. Throughout history, prescription pills had always been treasures of every family. They would never show it to others. Take a certain master alchemist in Jade Dragon City, for example. You could ask him for a pill, but he would sell you the finished product. But the prescription? Don't even think about it. Even if you had a mountain of gold, no, a mountain of spirit stones, it would be useless. Hence, Lu Bin even thought that Lin Jin had scribbled something randomly. However, he had some basic knowledge of pharmacology. Although he couldn't distinguish the authenticity of this prescription, he could match the basic pharmacology. Whether it's real or fake, I have to give it a try. If the prescription is real and can really save the 6th princess, I can't let such an expert be buried in this tiny maple city, Lu Bin mused. Not daring to waste any more time, he dashed out of the house and leaped onto the roof. With a loud whistle, a giant eagle flew down from the sky. The eagle's wingspan was at least 20 feet. It was definitely a behemoth. Lubin leaped onto the eagle's back and followed it into the sky. Chapter 49. After the eagle flew away, Lin Jin emerged from the corner of the alleyway. Xiaohua, oh Xiaohua, who do you think that person is? An average person wouldn't be able to own such a large eagle. This person must have an extraordinary background, Lin Jin mumbled. Beside him, Xiaohua remained silent. He couldn't speak. Say, was I being too conservative back then? I should have at least listened to his self-introduction, right? Who knows, I might even be able to get some support from him, Lin Jin continued to grumble. Woo-woo. Xiaohua's reply was probably a snort or two. You think so too? Whatever, this person isn't simple. He has a cloud sea scorpion and his blood contract is on the 6th realm, so he should be considered a contemporary expert. It's best not to provoke someone like him for now. With the Museum of Deadly Beasts, no one will be as powerful as me in the future. Lin Jin was gleeful as he led the baffled Xiaohua toward the Beast Appraisal Association. Beast Appraisal Association, Logistics Department. For the past 2 days, Dong He had been cooped up in his consultation hall, afraid to step out. 2 days ago, he was found naked and unconscious on the street. His reputation had been thoroughly humiliated. Until now, Dong He still couldn't understand why those hired thugs would betray him and attack him. Every time he recalled how pitiful it was to be surrounded by so many onlookers, Dong He trembled in anger. Smack! Dong He slammed his fat palm on the table. Those thugs escaped and I can't find them. But this definitely has something to do with Lin Jin. I can't take this lying down. Just then, someone came in. Dong He's eyes lit up at the sight and he immediately went over to greet the person. Sister, you're back? The person who came in was a beautiful middle-aged woman. Her features bore a slight resemblance to Dong He. It was Dong He's elder sister. Dong Quebec Dong K was petite but her aura was imposing. With a dark expression, she said, if I didn't come back, the Dong family's reputation would have been tarnished by you. Dong He looked embarrassed but he was indignant. He mused, Sister, you're already married so how can you represent the Dong family? What right do you have to say that about me? However, he did not dare to say this. The reason why Dong He was doing so well in the Beast Appraisal Association, managing the logistics department, was because his sister was one of the 3 elders of the association. Without this relationship, Dong He wouldn't have been able to land such a lucrative job based on his capabilities. After Dong K was seated, Dong He stood to the side. To think that someone as old as you would actually be knocked out, stripped naked, and left to dry on the street. Tell me what happened? Dong K asked. Dong He had no choice but to recount everything that had happened from beginning to end. You're saying you hired people to deal with Lin Jin but they suddenly turned against you? Everything was normal at first. Not long after they went in, Lin Jin's house was burned down. I was wondering if those people had gone overboard so I rushed in. But as soon as they saw me, they attacked me. I didn't even have a chance to speak. Dong K was clearly more thoughtful than Dong Quebec Dong, he was currently deep in thought. Dong He quickly nodded. That's right. I can't figure it out no matter how hard I tried. Dong K's expression was one of exasperation. This definitely has something to do with Lin Jin. Have you questioned him? Dong He shook his head. Afraid of embarrassing himself, he didn't even dare to step out of his door for the past 2 days. Useless. Dong K was infuriated. Your brother-in-law is an elder of the association. It doesn't matter if you're embarrassed, but what about him? However, even if we don't do anything to Lin Jin, he won't be able to live for much longer. I heard that headquarters has decided to revoke his qualifications as an official beast appraiser. It'll happen in 3 to 5 days. When he's kicked out of the association, it'll be a form of revenge for you. After Dong Ke said this, Dong He was overjoyed. In other words, Lin Jin's dismissal was already set in stone. Also, I've discussed this with your brother-in-law. You can't just sit around doing nothing. After all, you're still an apprentice beast appraiser in name. For your future, your brother-in-law and I have decided to let you practice beast appraisals as a licensed physician. At this, Dong He immediately shook his head. Sis, I'm doing just fine in the logistics department. Why do you? Dong Ke raised an eyebrow and reprimanded him. What do you know? What's so great about being a mere logistics manager? Once you become an official beast appraiser, your achievements will be much greater than a mere manager. An official beast appraiser? Dong He was tempted, but he knew his own limits. Shaking his head, he said, It's not that easy to become an official beast appraiser. Sis, I'm not cut out for that. Dong Ke chuckled. There's nothing great about becoming an official beast appraiser. It's just experience and knowledge. As an apprentice beast appraiser, you can earn experience by working as a licensed physician. Sometimes, you don't even need to take an exam. As long as there's a vacancy in the association, the chief can make an exception and promote you. Dong He was stunned. Wasn't Jia Qian currently walking down this path? Noticing her brother's expression, Dong Ke whispered, I know what you're thinking. That slut Jia Qian wants to be promoted, but does she deserve it? Does she think everything will be fine just because Wang Ji spoke up for her? What a joke. She has no foundation, so how can she compare to you? At least you have your brother-in-law to speak up for you. You're so much better than her. As for that sly old fox Wang Ji, how could he possibly give her such an opportunity? He's just trying to take advantage of her. But that slut is so reserved. Up until now, she hasn't even let Wang Ji have a taste of her. Tell me, how could Wang Ji possibly be happy about this? He's been holding a grudge against her for a long time now. Dong He was tempted. Truth be told, if he could really become an official beast appraiser, he would be even more glorious than he was now. One more thing. Tonight, a rank 3 beast appraiser from Jade Dragon Kingdom's headquarters will be a guest at the City Lord Manor. Your brother-in-law will be accompanying him as well. He'll think of a way to make that rank 3 beast appraiser your nominal mentor. With that, your future path will be paved. Upon hearing Dong Ke's words, Dong He no longer hesitated. Only a fool would let go of such an opportunity. Although he wanted to get intimate with Jia Qian, the problem was that he was the same as Wang Ji. He hadn't tasted any meat yet. Now that he thought about it, how could he not know that this woman was using him to achieve her own goals? If that was the case, why should he care about her? His sister was right. He had a foundation, and as long as his brother-in-law helped him, he might really be able to become an official beast appraiser. At the thought of his limitless future, Dong He couldn't help but look excited. Compared to the simple-minded Dong He, his sister, Dong Ke, was more mature. Jia Qian is nothing to be afraid of. The only thing we have to ensure now is to make that useless Lin Jin scram. If he gives up his position, then you can take it. Also, don't underestimate him too much. Be it luck or fate, for him to be able to become an official beast appraiser, he at least has some capabilities. Although it's a given that he'll be chased out, we still have to be careful. He was able to produce a fire spirit crystal, and even made the person you hired turn against him. Be it luck or anything else, you can't let your guard down. Dong Ke was a scheming and meticulous person. Dong He quickly asked, then how do we guard against him? Simple. Find someone to keep an eye on him. Chapter 50. By the time Lin Jin returned to the Beast Appraisal Association, Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun had already written down Lu Ba's evolution ideas and methods. This was the homework Lin Jin had left for them. After reading through them, Lin Jin nodded. They were clearly much better than before. At least, they were starting to head in the right direction. Still, they were a little conservative, especially Zhaoying. She had a solid foundation, but she didn't dare to take too many risks. Lu Xiaoyun was a little stronger, but sometimes her ideas were too wild. You two have improved. How about this? I'll write down Lu Ba's evolution ideas and methods. Take a look and it should help you improve a little. Having said that, Lin Jin finished his unfinished evaluation report. Then, he signed and stamped his seal before handing it to the girls. Come to think of it, they had racked their brains, writing down everything they could and couldn't think of. But now that they read Lin Jin's evolution methods, they were astounded. Comparing oneself to others was infuriating. Just look at appraiser Lin. Not only were his ideas novel, but they weren't wild either. They were supported by a solid foundation. Every step, every possibility, as well as how to use pills, spirit stones, and dermic arts to activate it to form signs of advancement were all written down clearly and could withstand scrutiny. In fact, this evaluation report could even be used as a model for teaching. So it works like this? Appraiser Lin has such a profound understanding of the 5 elements of yin and yang. This kind of thinking is unheard of. And pharmacology. It's so important. It's no wonder pharmacology was a compulsory subject in Beast Appraiser School. It's a pity I didn't study it properly back then. Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun began immersing themselves in their studies, unable to extricate themselves. Watching these two peerless beauties focus on their studies, and what they were learning was a wonderful sight to behold. Just then, someone outside asked, "Is Appraiser Lin here?" A man dressed like an artisan came in with his pet beast. He was holding Lin Jin's number plate in his hand, clearly here for an appraisal. Business. Lin Jin immediately sat down and invited the man in. Since Lin Jin had treated the old craftsman cow and saved his life, his name spread like wildfire among the craftsman circle. These craftsmen were all commoners. It wasn't easy to get a consultation with other beast appraisers, and they had to queue up. They knew that appraiser Lin Jin wasn't as bad as the rumors made him out to be. Not only was he not bad, but he was also highly skilled and had a noble character. As a result, those who needed beast appraisals and medical advice immediately flocked to him because of his reputation. This was only the first one. Soon, many people came to ask for Lin Jin's consultation number. The previously quiet consultation hall suddenly became lively. Lin Jin, who had been idle all this while, began to get busy. Some passers-by who didn't know the truth were curious. After all, Lin Jin's infamy in the Beast Appraisal Association had been intentionally spread by others. To put it bluntly, even passers-by who had never been to the Beast Appraisal Association had heard of this useless beast appraiser, who didn't live up to his reputation. There were even some who took it as a joke. Naturally, these people were curious as to why Lin Jin, who had been ignored all this while, was suddenly visited by more than one person. Only after asking did they find out the reason. It turned out that it wasn't just the craftsmen's circle who were defending Lin Jin's reputation. The customers who had witnessed Lin Jin tasting dishes and punishing Zhang Bailey at Symphony Restaurant all said that Lin Jin was truly talented. In addition, Lin Jin had taken the initiative to shamelessly invite a few people to help him with beast appraisals, and the results were surprisingly good. With all these people testifying together, Lin Jin suddenly became a hot topic. Although the number of visitors didn't increase because of this, there were still quite a few who came to watch the commotion. When someone left after a beast appraisal, people gathered around to ask about it curiously. Among the crowd was a chubby figure dressed in an apprentice beast appraiser's patterned sleeve. He paced around Lin Jin's consultation hall a few times until the crowd dwindled. Then, he pushed the door open and entered. Lin Jin was in a good mood today. Although his consultation number wasn't as high in demand as Wang Ji and Gao Jiang, it was much better than before. He was even on par with some of the more skilled apprentices like Jia Qian and Zhang He. This was a huge improvement. That's the way. We have to take things one step at a time. There's no hurry. Sooner or later, they'll all know of my capabilities, Lin Jin said gleefully. At the same time, the chubby apprentice entered. Greetings, Appraiser Lin. Upon seeing Lin Jin, the guy immediately went up to greet him, looking like a simple and honest man. Who are you? Lin Jin could tell that the man was an apprentice of the association. However, there were many apprentices in the association and Lin Jin didn't know most of them. The chubby man was all smiles. Appraiser Lin, my name is Han Dong. I've just joined the association not too long ago. I've heard of Appraiser Lin's skills and character, so I'd like to apply to be apprenticed under you. Lin Jin was overjoyed. As an official beast appraiser, the number of apprentices he had under him was an important indicator of his abilities and achievements. Lin Jin was single before this. After Zhang He's betrayal, he didn't have many apprentices to begin with and they all ran away. Although this was the fault of his predecessor, it clearly wasn't a good thing for Lin Jin. Later on, Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun volunteered to be apprenticed under him. However, it was also because Lin Jin used his abilities to conquer them. Han Dong was the first person who volunteered to be apprenticed under him. That's good, that's good. Go and settle the paperwork, Lin Jin said amiably. Han Dong was stunned. Is it that simple? Appraiser Lin, don't you need to test me? In the association, people like Chief Wang Ji and Appraiser Gao Jiang were extremely strict when it came to accepting apprentices as apprentices. Not only did they have to make an appointment in advance, but they also had to go through several tests. Knowledge of various subjects, including beast identification, knowledge of the Encyclopedia of Beasts, knowledge of the 5 elemental attributes, and pharmacology were all required. After all, there were many apprentices in the association, and not everyone could learn under an official beast appraiser. Competition was a must. Lin Jin waved his hand. There's no need for that. If you know everything, why would you need to be apprenticed? Since you're here, I don't care about your foundation. Lin Jin's confidence was evident in his words. Of course, his confidence came from the Museum of Deadly Beasts. With the museum, forget apprentices, Lin Jin was even qualified to teach that old man, Wang Ji. Han Dong had prepared quite a bit. After all, he came prepared. He was even thinking of ways to shake off Lin Jin's suspicions. But to think it would be this easy. In fact, apart from asking his name, the other party didn't ask anything else. Everyone says that Lin Jin is incompetent, undisciplined, and incompetent. Now that I've seen it for myself, it's true. It's a taboo that he doesn't value his apprentices' assessment. Doesn't he know that the apprentices' scores are linked to his monthly assessment? Han Dong thought to himself, but he wouldn't say it out loud. Because he was a spy hired by Dong He to begin with. Han Dong had arranged for him to monitor Lin Jin. Moreover, Han Dong knew that if nothing went wrong, Lin Jin would soon be stripped of his beast appraiser license and kicked out of the association. Han Dong just had to make sure that nothing went wrong during this period. After the deed was done, Dong He promised to give Han Dong a chance to serve as an apprentice. This was an important step for an apprentice, so Han Dong came. Chapter 51. Han Dong went to settle the paperwork and soon, he was officially registered under Lin Jin's name. This was unreal. Had it been any other beast appraiser, it would have taken at least 5 to 6 days from the application, review, assessment, and hiring process. Lin Jin brought Han Dong over to greet Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun. Han Dong's eyes lit up at the sight of Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun. He had long heard of these two beauties in the association. Even though he only met them by chance, he never greeted them. Now that he was meeting them officially, things were different. There was a ranking of beauties in Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association. Of course, at the top of the list was the number 1 apprentice, Jia Qian, who was close to becoming an official beast appraiser. In second place was Lu Xiaoyun. Zhao Ying was a rising star, but she had good looks and could fight. At the very least, she was on par with Lu Xiaoyun. Meeting her today, she truly lived up to her reputation. "I'm Han Dong. Greetings, seniors." Han Dong was obviously quick-witted. Otherwise, Dong he wouldn't have picked him to be a spy. Zhao Ying merely nodded without saying a word. Lu Xiaoyun, on the other hand, said enthusiastically, "You've done the right thing by registering under Appraiser Lin's name. From now on, we'll be working in the same consultation hall. If anything happens, we'll take care of you." Han Dong nodded at once. Despite his plump figure, he was a diligent worker. As soon as he arrived, he was already sweeping the floor with a broom and wiping the tables. Lin Jin nodded at his eagerness to do most of the work. At the very least, this newcomer was diligent. Han Dong was here as a spy, so he kept his mission in mind. Hence, while it looked like he was cleaning, he was actually observing Lin Jin's consultation hall. Frankly speaking, this place was quite run down. Dong he planned to work as a registered consultant as well. Even as an apprentice, Dong He's consultation hall was more spacious and brighter than this place, let alone appraiser Gao Jiang and Chief Wang Ji. At least in terms of hardware, there was no comparison at all. The consultation hall was divided into two rooms. The outer room was for beast appraisals while the inner room was for storage. Under the pretense of cleaning, Han Dong walked in and immediately saw the pet beasts inside. The most eye-catching one was the sapphire tortoise that Zhu Kan had left here. After all, this pet beast was huge, about half the height of a grown man. With such a large tortoise standing there, it was hard not to notice. The turtle was lying on the ground. Although it wasn't moving, it stuck its head out and looked at the firewolf. The firewolf was naturally Xiaohua. Ever since Xiaohua evolved perfectly and became a rank 3 pet beast, his aura was completely different from the mongrel from before. Although he wasn't the biggest, he had a unique aura that hinted at the strength of a beast king. He was currently coiled up in a corner. When Han Dong entered, he looked over cautiously. The man and the wolf looked at each other. Han Dong was immediately defeated. He averted his gaze, feeling extremely shocked. "This fire wolf is a little strange." Han Dong didn't know if he was imagining things, but he had a feeling that this fire wolf was very wary of him. Moreover, its gaze didn't seem like that of a pet beast. Instead, it made his heart palpitate and fearful. It was really strange. Although Han Dong wasn't an official beast appraiser, he was still an apprentice, so he had the ability to resist pet beasts. This was called mind calming, a basic skill that apprentices must master. After all, they would have to deal with all kinds of pet beasts in the future. Encountering gentle beasts was fine, but if they were to encounter a ferocious one, would they be frightened by a single glance? Of course not. Hence, mind calming was a compulsory course and they had to meet the required standard. However, when Han Dong glanced at him earlier, he felt that he had not learned this foundational compulsory course well. He had actually been scared stiff. An accident. This is an accident. Unconvinced, Han Dong continued to observe. Other than the sapphire tortoise and the firewolf, there was Zhao Ying's pangolin and Lu Xiaoyun's red fox. Resting behind Xiaohua, the two pet beasts were equally imposing. It was then that Han Dong realized something very important. Other than the sapphire tortoise, the other pet beasts seemed to be rank 2. After all, he was an apprentice beast appraiser with a solid foundation. There was no way he would be wrong about this. Rank 2 pet beasts exuded a rich aura and could already utilize elemental powers. Just by opening his spiritual eye, he could tell from the elemental spirit energy around the pet beast. There was no way he could be wrong about this. Appraiser Lin's pet beast is rank 2 and the pet beasts of the 2 apprentices under him are also rank 2. This is an important discovery. I have to note it down and report it back, Han Dong thought to himself. Then, He went back to pretending to clean up. Wait a minute. Suddenly remembering something, Han Dong quickly turned to the sapphire tortoise. Whose pet beast was this giant tortoise? And why did it look so familiar? Han Dong pondered for a moment before remembering that he had seen this sapphire tortoise more than once. It's young Master Zhu's pet beast. It's young Master Zhu's pet beast. Young Master Zhu has visited the association several times, including Chief Wang Ji and appraiser Gao Jiang. It seems like this turtle is suffering from a strange disease, but I heard that it's incurable. Even Chief Wang Ji and appraiser Gao Jiang couldn't do anything about it, so they asked young Master Zhu to give up. Recently, this sapphire turtle looked like it was about to die, so why does it look so energetic now? This was definitely a huge discovery. Puzzled, Han Dong went forward to take a closer look, afraid that he was mistaken. There's no mistaking it. This is young Master Zhu's pet beast. There's no mistaking it. There's even the Zhu family's mark on its shell. Han Dong took a deep breath. Just 2 days ago, this pet beast was on the brink of death and was sentenced to death by Chief Wang Ji and appraiser Gao Jiang. But today, it didn't look like it was going to die. Although it wasn't exactly jumping around, it was full of vigor. Could it be that young Master Zhu came to appraiser Lin for treatment and he was cured? Han Dong shook his head. Even he didn't believe his own speculation. How is that possible? After all, this giant tortoise was something that even Chief Wang and appraiser Gao Jiang couldn't do anything about. How could Lin Jin possibly cure it? But now that the truth was right before their eyes, they had no choice but to believe it. Han Dong was shocked, but he suppressed his emotions. He made a mental note of this, and his evaluation of Lin Jin also improved. Everyone says that appraiser Lin is ignorant and incompetent. But from the looks of it, that doesn't seem to be the case. Could it be that the rumors are all false and someone is trying to frame him? Han Dong knew that while the association appeared to be peaceful on the surface, there was actually a lot of internal strife. Perhaps his speculation was right. Even if that's the case, there's nothing I can do to change it. I'm just an insignificant apprentice. I just have to do my job well, Han Dong told himself before preparing to leave. Just then, he saw a stack of evaluation reports. He had just brought them here. Han Dong picked them up and flipped through them. His eyes immediately lit up. Amazing, this is amazing. Beast evaluation reports can be written this way. Amazing. A problem that can't be diagnosed on the surface can be identified from its attribute and environment. Is this something an average person can do? The shallow water crocodile has a fire attribute. Shouldn't it be a water attribute? This appraisal method is so novel. Man, it can even be done like this? Just like Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun, anyone with even the slightest appreciation for Lin Jin's evaluation reports wouldn't be able to put them down once they read them. Han Dong's dream was to become an outstanding beast appraiser. However, he came from a poor family and wasn't particularly handsome, so he could only rely on his own hard work. In terms of basic knowledge, Han Dong was no worse than anyone else. Hence, with just one look, he was able to discern the intricacies of the evaluation report. He immediately forgot about everything else and focused on reading them. From time to time, his expression would change as he slapped his thigh in excitement. It's amazing, isn't it? Suddenly, a voice rang out, startling Han Dong so much that he shuddered. Already feeling guilty, Han Dong dropped the evaluation reports on the floor out of fright. He turned to see Zhao Ying standing beside him with an indifferent expression. "Senior Zhao," Han Dong called out, quickly calming himself down. Zhao Ying bent down to pick up the evaluation report. "Did I scare you just now?" It was the same when I first read appraiser Lin's evaluation report. I was immersed in them for several hours, unable to extricate myself. Han Dong asked, "Are these all appraiser Lin's evaluation reports?" Zhao Ying rolled her eyes. Of course. Did I write them? Han Dong was truly shocked in his heart. Was this considered ignorant and incompetent? Was this considered undeserving? Was this considered a disgrace to the association? If this was considered a disgrace, then what about the others? The brain was a good thing. Sometimes, when one couldn't understand something, one could just fill in the blank. Now, in Han Dong's mind, a peerless genius was being treated as an enemy, framed, slandered, and even deliberately belittled. Chapter 52. Truth be told, Han Dong was a little disdainful of those rumormongers' methods. They were lowly and despicable. However, he couldn't care less. He was here as a spy to keep an eye on Lin Jin. He just had to do his job well. Sighing inwardly, Han Dong was about to speak when an urgent voice came from outside. "What's wrong with your association? You're not going to entertain us after the consultation hours? You've asked everyone and they're all gone. You even sent me here. Do you think I don't know that there's something wrong with this appraiser's abilities?" The voice was sharp, laced with anger and anxiety. Outside, a few people entered Lin Jin's consultation hall. They looked anxious as they carried a stretcher with a millstone-sized iron crab on it. Iron crab was a type of pet beast and a very powerful one at that. Not only was it fast, but it also possessed incredible defensive capabilities. Many people loved it and treated it as a blood contract pet beast. It was considered a common pet beast. Right now, the iron crab on the stretcher was listless. Upon closer inspection, one could see that a layer of frost had formed on the iron crab's shell. Lin Jin immediately stepped forward. Following these people was a female apprentice who looked helpless. When she saw Lin Jin, she quickly said, "Appraiser Lin, this is an emergency. They were supposed to register Chief Wang Ji, but he has left and appraiser Gao Jiang isn't around. The other apprentices can't treat this case, so we had no choice but to bring it here." Look, Lin Jin didn't let her continue. Instead, he said, "Put it on the ground. Let me take a look." The people who brought the pet beasts here were clearly reluctant. One of them said, "This appraiser Lin isn't reliable, so we wouldn't dare to let him treat us. I heard he even had an appraisal accident. Is there no one else here?" These people were imposing and all of them had strong physique. Glaring at Lin Jin, the young apprentice who brought them here was so frightened that he didn't know what to say. Lin Jin, on the other hand, remained calm. He pointed at the door and said, "I'll give you two choices. If you don't want to see it, carry it away. We won't be responsible if it dies outside. If you want to see it, keep it here and don't disturb my treatment." Clean and efficient, with an imposing manner. Those people were speechless after being rebuked. To be honest, other people really couldn't take a look at their iron shell crab. It wasn't that they didn't take a look, but that a few of the top-ranked apprentices had all taken a look, and none of them could do anything about it. They were told to look elsewhere. Chief Wang Ji and appraiser Gao Jiang had left at the appointed time and were no longer in the association. Left with no other choice, they came here. If he were to pull it away, the pet beast might not survive the night. One of them gritted his teeth and said, "Put it down and let him see. If he can't see it, then we'll find trouble with him." Lin Jin's expression darkened. How was this supposed to be a pet beast for treatment? They were being unreasonable. Lin Jin wasn't a pushover, so how could he possibly be intimidated by these people? "Xiaohua!" Lin Jin shouted and a shadow immediately darted out from the back hall. No one could see what was going on, but a ferocious and intimidating fire wolf stood before them. Those people immediately took a step back in fright. "Since you're here, you must abide by my rules. Let me make this clear. Treating a pet beast isn't 100% success rate. If you're not willing to be treated, take your pet beasts away immediately. If you're willing to stay, keep your mouth shut. If you spout any more nonsense, I'll throw all of you out." Lin Jin swept his gaze across them, his aura imposing. None of them dared to meet Lin Jin's gaze. Lin Jin didn't move either. He simply stared at them. Seeing that the iron shell crab was on the verge of death, the leader finally snapped out of his daze and quickly apologized. "Appraiser Lin, we're uncultured people. We were rude before and spoke without thinking. Please don't take it to heart. Please be a benevolent doctor and save my pet beast." The others quickly bowed as well. The young apprentice's eyes immediately lit up. At this moment, she was clearly impressed by Lin Jin's might. The sight of his imposing figure actually made her heart race. Seeing that these people had behaved themselves, Lin Jin lowered his head and reached out to touch the iron shell crab. Those people were puzzled, but they didn't dare to say anything. They could only watch obediently. "Go and find some firewood and a large pot," Lin Jin ordered. The group was confused. But due to Lin Jin's earlier display of might, no one asked any questions. With their doubts in mind, they went to look for the items. Firewood was easy to find, but a large pot wasn't. In the end, they had to borrow the largest pot in the association's kitchen. Lin Jin nodded in satisfaction at the sight. Then, he got the group's help. They started the fire, poured water, closed the steamer, and placed the iron shell crab inside. The helpers immediately sensed something amiss. Why did it feel like they were going to steam the crab? What's the meaning of this? I don't know. We didn't dare to ask either. This appraiser Lin is pretty fierce and his pet beast is even scarier. I'm afraid he'll be upset if we ask. Forget these people, even the apprentices like Xiao Ying, Lu Xiaoyun, and Han Dong were confused. Being a straightforward person, Lu Xiaoyun couldn't help but whisper, "Should we get some seasonings? Ginger, scallions, or something?" At this, the group panicked even more. Lin Jin knew this could easily lead to misunderstandings. Since he had done what he could, he simply explained, "This iron shell crab must have accidentally eaten something extremely cold." Crabs have a water attribute to begin with, so they aren't afraid of such things, but if they eat too much of it, they will be harmed. This isn't a big problem. The cold can be dispelled with fire or some medicine that melts yin energy, but the effect will be slower. However, the iron shell crab has a yin attribute to begin with. Whether it's dispelling fire or using medicine that melts yin energy, it's a different kind of harm. Hence, while dispelling the cold, the iron shell crab can't be harmed. Hence, this is the only way. The steam from the steamer, mixed with fire and water attributes, happens to be able to restrain the cold in the iron shell crab's body. This theory sounded unimaginable at first. However, if one were to think about it carefully, they would realize that it contained an extremely profound principle. Zhao Yu and Lu Xiaoyun were the first to react. Brilliant! It's no wonder no one else can cure this disease. That's because no matter what method is used, as long as the cold is dispelled, the pet beast's innate attribute will be harmed. Even if it's cured, it would be crippled. Using the steam from the steamer, which carries a fire attribute but is suppressed by water, is the most suitable method to dispel the cold in the iron shell crab's body. The best part is that this method won't harm the iron shell crab's innate attribute. It's truly amazing. The two girls looked at Lin Jin with admiration. Han Dong was also an apprentice beast appraiser, so it didn't take him long to figure out the theory behind it. He was equally astounded by it. There's actually such a method? Han Dong was a hard-working man who studied beast appraising, so he knew many books by heart. One thing Han Dong was sure of was that Lin Jin's treatment method had never been mentioned in the books. It was a brand new case study. I have to remember this. Han Dong's fat jiggled in excitement. Although the iron shell crab's owner and his companions didn't understand the profound theory behind it, they understood what Lin Jin was saying. This method could cure their iron shell crab. As long as it could be cured, that was fine. Chapter 53. The water in the pot was boiling and steam was coming out. With the lid on, the others had no idea what was going on inside. Only Lin Jin was confident. Since the Museum of Deadly Beasts listed this treatment method, it must be effective. Hence, Lin Jin remained nonchalant, not worried at all. Han Dong, who was watching from the side, made a mental note of it. About 10 minutes later, the lid popped open with a loud bang. The frigid air on the iron crab's body was removed and it leaped out of the pot. The iron crab was currently steaming and full of vigor. Even an idiot would know that the treatment was effective. Lin Jin waved his hand and said to the apprentices, "You guys can handle the rest. Prescribe some medicine to regulate the crab's attributes and it'll be fine. Also, this iron crab has benefited from this disaster. 90% of the frigid air in its body has been removed and the remaining 10% is no longer harmful to it. Instead, it will improve its strength. Who knows, it might even be able to use this energy to evolve in the near future." The apprentices quickly expressed their gratitude at this. This time they were truly convinced. They had no choice but to accept it because the truth was right before their eyes. After all, they had consulted several so-called first and second-ranked apprentices, but none of them could do anything. That apprentice named Zhang, he even said that even an official beast appraiser wouldn't be able to do anything in such a situation. In other words, it was hopeless. Who would have thought that appraiser Lin, who had a terrible reputation, would cure it so quickly? Who said that appraiser Lin was incompetent? Who said that he didn't live up to his reputation? The apprentices thanked Lin Jin profusely before taking their leave. Appraiser Lin is a man of miraculous skills and noble character. To think that there would be such slander against him, the owner of the iron crab said angrily. As shipwrights, they were short-tempered, straightforward, and loyal. They felt like they owed Lin Jin a favor this time. "Why don't we send him a plaque tomorrow? Don't all the other beast appraisers' consultation halls have plaques hanging on the wall saying things like, 'Superb appraisal skills' or 'Benevolent medical skills'? Appraiser Lin is so skilled, but there's not a single plaque in his hall." "That's a good idea. I think it'll work." The shipwrights left with the iron crab. There was a fat man in front of them, and he was listening to their conversation. This fatty was Dong He. From tomorrow onwards, he would officially open his shop and start helping people to appraise and treat beasts. He had seen these shipwrights before. Previously, he had gone to Jia Qian and Zhang He's place. They seemed to have registered for emergency treatment, but they probably could not be cured. Situations like this were a daily occurrence in the association. There would always be pet beasts suffering from incurable diseases, so the association was used to it. But just now, Dong He had clearly seen that half-dead iron shell crab run out on its own. Those legs and that speed, how did it look like it was about to die? Dong He was puzzled at first, but after hearing their conversation, he immediately understood what was going on. It was that Lin Jin who cured her? How is this possible? Dong He was shocked. He knew that although Lin Jin was an official beast appraiser, his skills had always been mediocre. This was a well-known fact. But on second thought, the rumor of Lin Jin's incompetence originated from Zhang He. That Zhang He had betrayed Lin Jin and switched allegiances. Could he have said that on purpose to defame Lin Jin? That was a possibility. But that didn't make sense either. Dong He remembered clearly that Lin Jin's scores couldn't even compare to a few apprentices in the past few months. He was barely in the middle of the group. If Lin Jin was an apprentice, it wouldn't be a big deal. But as an official beast appraiser, Lin Jin's ranking was too low. If Lin Jin was truly talented, how could he be so lousy? Dong He couldn't figure it out. He hurriedly ran back and told his sister, Dong Ke, about the situation. Coincidentally, Han Dong had also sneaked back to report what had happened today. Han Dong's understanding was clearly more detailed. He included information about Lin Jin and his two apprentices' pet beasts, the contents of Lin Jin's evaluation reports, and the emergency treatment they encountered today. Han Dong even went into great detail about the process. When they weren't paying attention, I secretly made a copy of Lin Jin's evaluation report. Han Dong took out a piece of paper. Dong Ke and Dong He watched it together. Dong Ke was also an apprentice, but she preferred to keep a low profile. When she saw Lin Jin's evaluation report, her eyelids twitched while Dong He gaped at it. This has some standards. Dong He mumbled to himself. Dong Ke shook her head. It's more than just some standards. Despite her calm demeanor, she was inwardly shocked. This evaluation report was for an average rank 1 pet beast. It wasn't a difficult task, and even an average apprentice beast appraiser could handle it. However, even though it was a simple task, the evaluation reports written by an expert and an average person were simply different. It was just like when a painter painted from nature. The same landscape could be painted by different people, and the final result would be different. Could the work of a master painter be compared to the work of an ordinary painter? Discerning people could tell the difference between good and bad with just one glance. The difference in value was like heaven and earth. In a sense, it was the same for beast evaluation reports. The same pet beast would be evaluated by different beast appraisers, resulting in vastly different results. Lin Jin's evaluation report was extremely detailed. It included the pet beast's species, bloodline, attributes, and even the pet beast's condition, hidden ailments, and even the treatment method. Everything was written in great detail. It was well-grounded and well-organized. It was a superb work. This Lin Jin doesn't seem to be as bad as Zhang He made him out to be. But his monthly evaluation scores are really bad, and he even had an appraisal accident. Dong He was still in disbelief. His sister, Dong Ke, was much more thorough in her considerations. The monthly evaluation might seem fair, but in reality, it's not impossible to falsify it. As for the appraisal accident, we'll need to analyze it in detail. After all, some pet beasts are extremely difficult to appraise. Even Wang Ji and Gao Jiang can't always get it right. Dong He's heart skipped a beat. He quickly whispered, "Sister, you mean..." Dong Ke took a deep breath. Now it seems that Lin Jin isn't as useless as the rumors say. At the very least, he does have the ability of an official beast appraiser. Then what should we do? What if he doesn't get kicked out? I can't take over either. Dong He panicked. Sometimes things were like this. If there was no hope, one wouldn't think about it. But now that there was a glimmer of hope, it would be even more difficult to give up. Moreover, Dong He had already given up his position as the logistics department's manager. He would be taking over tomorrow, so he wouldn't be able to kick Lin Jin out now. Dong Ke chuckled. "Silly brother, what are you afraid of? It's not like Lin Jin's skills suddenly improved over the past few days. He was suppressed so badly in the past, so he won't be able to make a comeback in the future. He can only blame his bad luck. Not only did he have a low evaluation score, but he also had an accident. Not to mention, that old fox Wang Ji is still around, so you don't have to worry about him. That's good. Anyway, I don't like that Lin Jin. Once he leaves, I'll definitely get someone to teach him a lesson," Dong He said with a menacing expression. "Regarding Lin Jin, keep it a secret. At the very least, don't help him spread the news. We don't have to deal with him. Wang Ji will help us," Dong Ke said confidently. Chapter 54. The renovations to his house had yet to be completed, so Lin Jin spent the night in the association's consultation hall as usual. Xiao Hua and the sapphire turtle were there, and he even brought Goldie along when he went back. With them around, it was quite a lively place. The next day, Lin Jin sat in the consultation hall as usual. Han Dong arrived even earlier than Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun. He started cleaning the place diligently. At first, Lin Jin thought it would be hard to get his number token today. But in fact, it was early in the morning and no one had come to register for his number token. Even if there were people who came yesterday, they were only a small minority. Most people's impression of Lin Jin was still that rumored unreliable beast appraiser. "There's no rush. Gold will shine sooner or later," Lin Jin said nonchalantly, unhurried. He was quite satisfied with his current situation. This was much better than before. Back then, he was a one-man army. But now, he had 3 apprentices affiliated with him to learn from. "Right, since I have time now, let me share some of my beast appraising experiences with you guys." Lin Jin figured that since Han Dong was affiliated with him, he might as well teach them the basics of beast appraising. Since they were readily available in the museum, he could just pick any one of them and it would be enough to benefit the 3 of them immensely. "Let's talk then." Having attended Lin Jin's lectures before, Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun quickly sat down in anticipation. Han Dong, on the other hand, didn't have much anticipation. It wasn't that he didn't think Lin Jin was skilled enough. Based on his observation yesterday, he knew that Lin Jin was highly skilled and had impressive standards. However, it wasn't as if he had never experienced teaching before. When he first arrived, he studied under Gao Jiang. However, there were too many apprentices under Gao Jiang. At its peak, there were more than 30 of them. It was obvious that these 30 apprentices couldn't all be his assistants. Although Han Dong only studied under Gao Jiang, he only had the chance to listen to Gao Jiang's lecture 2 months later. He was extremely excited back then. This was because appraiser Gao Jiang was a renowned certified beast appraiser. When Han Dong first arrived, he was filled with admiration. Before the class started, he was so excited that he couldn't even sleep. He even prepared a brush and paper, intending to study in earnest. It was a public lecture, and there were 10 other apprentices listening to the lecture. However, when appraiser Gao Jiang arrived and began his lecture, it was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over Han Dong's head. The so-called lectures, in reality, would not teach anything truly useful. It was also from that moment onward that Han Dong realized the principle of teaching a disciple to starve to death. Come to think of it, how could appraiser Gao Jiang possibly impart valuable knowledge and experience to others? Even if he wanted to teach, he would only teach a small number of trusted aides. Even if he was a trusted aide, he would definitely hold back a lot. This was inevitable. After all, beast appraisers had to spend a long time exploring and summarizing their experiences. They wouldn't teach others so easily. Han Dong understood this as well. Hence, he knew very well that affiliated beast appraisers wouldn't usually teach any useful knowledge. At best, they would only teach some basic knowledge that was useless and a waste of time. It was precisely because of this that Han Dong felt disinterested. However, he dared not say this out loud. If appraiser Lin wanted to conduct a lecture, he couldn't just refuse to listen. He could only follow Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun to see what Lin Jin had to say. Today we'll be talking about a profound technique in beast identification, the 5 elements beast identification technique, Lin Jin suddenly said. This technique was specifically explained in the Museum of Deadly Beasts. The main point was that one didn't need to activate their spiritual eye or use a beast amulet. All they needed were some basic techniques and techniques to appraise a beast. Strictly speaking, this was something that couldn't be learned anywhere else. It was a profound technique that beast appraisers had concluded themselves. However, there were too many similar techniques in the Museum of Deadly Beasts. Truth be told, Lin Jin had seen and studied them before, but he couldn't use them on a daily basis. The reason was simple. Any pet beast would automatically be appraised the moment he touched it, and it would be recorded into the museum. Hence, no matter how profound the appraisal technique was, it couldn't compare to this. However, no one else had the Museum of Deadly Beasts. Hence, any one of these techniques was a priceless treasure. Lin Jin didn't keep anything to himself. Of course, he only chose to teach them one of the more common and low-end appraisal techniques. After all, there were some high-end techniques that he hadn't even studied yet. Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun immediately listened with rapt attention. They had attended Lin Jin's lectures before, so they knew what he was talking about was the real deal. It was all real knowledge, without a single bit of fluff. Hence, they had to listen carefully or they might miss out on some important point. Han Dong didn't mind at first, but soon, he was dumbfounded. That's not right. I'm not talking about those useless things. Being able to become an apprentice proved that Han Dong wasn't a mediocre person. He could still tell the difference between good and bad knowledge. This time, Lin Jin didn't even bother with nonsense. He went straight to the real knowledge, and they were all extremely important. It was obvious that Lin Jin was speaking from his own experience. Han Dong was dumbfounded. His reaction was quick. He immediately flipped open his notebook and began recording. Only an idiot wouldn't listen and learn. Although Han Dong was a spy sent to spy on Lin Jin, he wouldn't let go of an opportunity to learn like this. Listening to Lin Jin's lecture made him feel hungry and thirsty. Like a drought meeting sweet dew, or like a hoodlum entering a brothel, he was so immersed in it that he lost track of time. Lin Jin lectured for more than an hour without taking a break. His mouth was dry from all the talking. Let's call it a day here. Lin Jin planned to take a break while the other three looked like they wanted to continue. Especially Han Dong. As he read the information recorded in his notebook, he trembled in excitement. At the same time, he felt extremely dejected. He was dejected because he didn't pay attention at first and missed out on many important points. If he was given another chance, he would definitely pay attention. After listening carefully, Han Dong was truly shocked. Why wasn't this appraiser Lin playing by the book? Everyone in the association knew that when official beast appraisers gave lectures, they would only talk about the basics and rarely would they talk about anything useful. Even if they did, they would only talk about one or two important points. If you wanted to listen to all of them, it would take at least half a year to even think about it. On the other hand, appraiser Lin had imparted the entirety of knowledge to them in this lecture. Furthermore, while the content was profound, it was grounded in theory. It wasn't just an illusion, but rather, it was backed up with solid evidence that could withstand scrutiny and research. This is true experience. This is true skill. When Han Dong realized this, he felt as though his heart had been overturned. All sorts of feelings were running through him. Then, he turned to appraiser Lin and waved his sleeve. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask me. Han Dong immediately felt ashamed. What did it mean to be virtuous? What did it mean to be a teacher? Compared to appraiser Lin, what were Wang Ji and Gao Jiang? What did they teach? Even if appraiser Lin's skills weren't that great, at least he wasn't fooling them with his lectures. He was serious and taught as much as he could. And what about Han Dong? At that moment, Han Dong even had the urge to come clean and tell appraiser Lin that he was a spy. It seemed like this was the only way to make him feel better. However, at this moment there was a commotion outside. Very soon, a few people carried a signboard and came in. Chapter 55. Appraiser Lin, we're here to thank you. If it weren't for appraiser Lin, my pet beast would have died yesterday. Appraiser Lin is skilled and benevolent. You're a model beast appraiser. To express our gratitude, we've specially made a plaque for appraiser Lin. It was the owner of the Iron Crab and a group of boatmen who arrived yesterday. These people were straightforward. Since they decided to give Lin Jin a plaque yesterday, they had it prepared and delivered early in the morning. Lin Jin was delighted to see this and personally welcomed them. After all, this was the first time someone had delivered a plaque to him. Appraiser Lin, we're uneducated, so we can only give you this plaque to express our gratitude. Please accept it no matter what, one of the boatmen said. Lin Jin accepted the plaque without hesitation. Others might have pretended to reject the gift, but Lin Jin had no such intentions. Since they had come with good intentions, why should he pretend to reject them? Not only would he not reject them, but Lin Jin had made up his mind to accept any plaques like this one from now on. The 4 words on the plaque read, "Model Beast Appraiser." These 4 words were a little too big for most people to accept. After all, even Wang Ji wouldn't dare to claim that he was a model beast appraiser. This title was too big for most people to bear. However, Lin Jin didn't feel bad about it. He happily accepted it and immediately had someone hang it on the wall behind his desk. With that, he could sit there with a plaque that read "Exemplary Beast Appraiser" behind him. It was majestic and domineering. Perhaps it was out of joy Lin Jin checked on the iron crab's condition again. He even gave them some pointers and told them that if the iron crab showed signs of evolution, they should bring it to Lin Jin to have a look. If there were signs of evolution, Lin Jin would be able to help the iron crab evolve successfully. This undoubtedly excited the boatmen. Commoners like them had no chance of evolving their pet beasts into rank 2. Firstly, they couldn't find a pet beast with potential. Secondly, they didn't have the resources to strengthen their pet beasts with spirit stones and various pills. Lin Jin had the Museum of Deadly Beasts, so he could use the most effective method to evolve his pet beast. Back then, Xiaohua's evolution cost him more than 200 taels just to refine the 6 Sun Beast Soul Pill. And that didn't even include the Fire Spirit Crystal and the Fire Attribute Rank 1 Excellent Beast Soul. Including these 2 items, even 1,000 taels of silver might not be enough. How could commoners like them afford it? Hence, Lin Jin's promise made the shipwrights extremely grateful. Making a plaque didn't cost much, but befriending a beast appraiser was the most important thing. Now, Lin Jin needed something practical to change the unfavorable rumors about him. This plaque was the perfect symbol. It also symbolized that he had officially sounded the rallying call for his counterattack. The commotion here was not small, so it naturally attracted a lot of people's attention. And now the discussions outside had slowly changed over the past few days. At least, some voices had begun to question the slandering and derogatory comments about Lin Jin. Everyone says that this appraiser Lin is incompetent. But if he was, why would people praise him with a plaque? That's right. But Lin Jin might just be a self-directed act to brag about himself. Perhaps. Fortunately, Lin Jin's number is easier to get in touch with. Chief Wang and Appraiser Gao's numbers have been sold out for a long time now. Sometimes they even have to spend a large sum of money to buy it from a scalper. Why not give Appraiser Lin's number a try? You have a point. With that, quite a number of people rushed to Lin Jin's number. And so, Lin Jin suddenly became very busy. Wang Ji arrived at the association a little late today because he had drunk too much last night at the City Lord Manor's banquet. He had gained a lot from last night's banquet. Due to the excellent evaluation of the mutant eggs, not only did he earn the City Lord's praise, but he also managed to form a relationship with a rank 3 beast appraiser hired by the City Lord. That rank 3 beast appraiser from headquarters was no ordinary person. In Jade Dragon Kingdom's Beast Appraisal Association, he was a highly respected individual. Many of the certified beast appraisers in the association were his students, and he had students all over the world. In the past, Wang Ji would never have had the chance to befriend this beast appraiser. But at last night's banquet, the rank 3 beast appraiser took the initiative to speak to him and even encouraged him. This made Wang Ji feel like he had just eaten honey. His entire body was filled with comfort and motivation. The rank 3 beast appraiser even said that he would be staying in Maple City for a few days and that he would definitely come to Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association for guidance. If that was the case, it would undoubtedly give Wang Ji a lot of leverage to climb up the ranks. Upon arriving at the Beast Appraisal Association, Wang Ji put his hands behind his back and patrolled the premises as usual. But when he approached Lin Jin's consultation hall, he frowned. The place, which was usually deserted, was now packed with people. Wang Ji frowned at once. He stopped an apprentice and asked, "What's going on here?" When the apprentice saw that it was the chief, he quickly answered respectfully, "These people are all here for Appraiser Lin's appraisal and treatment." For him to appraise their beasts? Wang Ji looked incredulous. He knew Lin Jin's situation better than anyone else. It could be said that he was standing on the edge of a cliff, and when the wind blew, he would fall. A few days ago, he had purposely arranged for Lin Jin to go to Everlasting Town for a beast appraisal in order to set up a trap for Lin Jin. But to his surprise, Lin Jin somehow managed to get the job done. The General Affairs Department had already reviewed the evaluation records Lin Jin had submitted and couldn't find any flaws. Still, Wang Ji refused to give up, so he sent his trusted aide to Everlasting Town to investigate and see if they could find any loopholes in Lin Jin's work. As chief of Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association, even Wang Ji couldn't do as he pleased. After all, there were still 3 elders assisting the association in its internal affairs. Sometimes, the elders' reach could stretch far beyond their reach. However, it wasn't a big problem for him to target Lin Jin. The association's higher-ups wouldn't bother with such matters, and some would even support him. He tried his best to give Lin Jin a low score in the monthly evaluation. Lin Jin didn't seem to be making any progress either, resulting in a serious appraisal accident. Headquarters had already sent an inspector to verify the matter. If it was verified, Lin Jin's qualifications as an official beast appraiser would be revoked on the spot. When that happened, Wang Ji would have no choice but to kick him out. At a time like this, Wang Ji obviously didn't want any more trouble to crop up. He walked over and peeked through the crack in the door. Inside, Lin Jin was treating a pet beast with a serious expression. And on the wall of this hall there was a brand new plaque. Exemplary Beast Appraiser? Wang Ji was infuriated at the sight of it. This Lin Jin is too arrogant. How dare he accept a plaque like this? Is he even worthy of being a model beast appraiser? Even Wang Ji didn't dare to hang such an exaggerated and pretentious plaque. Who was Lin Jin? If Lin Jin was a model beast appraiser, then what was Wang Ji? Chapter 56. Wang Ji was a sly old fox with deep foresight. He didn't flare up immediately, nor did he barge in to reprimand Lin Jin. Instead, he retreated. This Lin Jin is really asking for it. He just had such a serious evaluation accident, and yet he still dares to sit in the hall and evaluate beasts. He even hung up the title of Exemplary Beast Appraiser. Even I wouldn't dare to wear this title on my head. He's just making a fool out of himself. Fine, if you want to die, I won't stop you, Wang Ji mumbled to himself with a dark expression. Then, he glanced at the secluded consultation hall before storming back to his own consultation hall. Get the General Affairs Department's manager here, Wang Ji ordered. While waiting, Wang Ji couldn't help but think of the evaluation reports he burned yesterday morning. Truth be told, Wang Ji was shocked back then. To him, Lin Jin was incompetent and useless. But those mutant eggs evaluation reports were like a resounding slap to his face. He had to admit that he couldn't produce those evaluation reports. His standards weren't up to par. But Lin Jin shouldn't have been able to produce such evaluation reports either. Wang Ji gave it some thought and concluded that the only possibility was that Lin Jin had seen similar cases before. Lin Jin could only produce evaluation reports for mutant eggs if he had seen them before. In other words, Lin Jin was plagiarizing. Of course, this Lin Jian was still a little too young. How dare he write such a conclusive conclusion for plagiarism? This was a taboo when writing evaluation reports. No one could be 100% sure that their evaluation results were correct. Hence, he had to be ambiguous and only say that it was a prediction. Moreover, he had to list out more possibilities so that there would be room for error in the future. When Wang Ji plagiarized, he did so in his own way. He merely borrowed the contents and theories of the other party's evaluation report. His conclusion was still ambiguous. In other words, Wang Ji didn't believe Lin Jin's evaluation reports. Even if the mutated eggs hatched, they wouldn't end up as what Lin Jin's evaluation reports had described. If it was the same, then Lin Jin was a god. However, Lin Jin wasn't completely useless. Take this time, for example. Despite being in such dire straits, he still managed to make some wave. He even managed to get people to sign up for him and send him a plaque. If you want to change public opinion, I won't give you the chance. Wang Ji was determined to ruin Lin Jin's reputation and kick him out of the association. The steward of the General Affairs Department, Zhou Xiu, had arrived. Wang Ji immediately said, "Steward Zhou, I called you here because I have something for you to do." "Guild leader, please speak." "Headquarters is conducting an investigation into Lin Jin's negligence of duty. During this period, it's no longer appropriate for him to continue holding his consultation hall. This is being irresponsible to others. Inform him in the name of the General Affairs Department that before the results of the investigation are out, his consultation hall is to be temporarily sealed." Wang Ji said it casually, but in Zhou Xiu's ears, it was filled with murderous intent. Zhou Xiu mused, is he trying to kill Lin Jin? Even though the investigation hasn't been conducted yet, to have his consultation hall sealed right now is the same as giving Lin Jin a death sentence. Needless to say, after this incident, Lin Jin would never be able to reopen his shop, much less conduct his consultation hall. Moreover, the appraisal incident was a fact and Lin Jin would be held responsible for the results of the inspection. If Lin Jin performed well during this period of time and received praise from customers, he might still have a chance at survival. The inspectors sent by headquarters might let him off the hook. But if his shop were to be shut down, there would be no chance for him to make a comeback. Even Zhou Xiu, who had been making things difficult for Lin Jin, now felt that Chief Wang Ji had gone too far. Zhou Xiu's pet beast had a serious illness. Lin Jin had noticed it the last time. Although Zhou Xiu had humiliated him in public, he still told Lin Jin the cure. 5 grams of green dew grass, root leaves, and white peony, 10 grams of deer blood and ginseng moss, 3 grams of saltpeter powder, and the 6th chapter of Li's pelletization was used. After that, Zhou Xiu fed this medicine to his yellow dole, and it really did improve. Over the past 2 days, it had already recovered to about 80%. No matter how indignant he was, Zhou Xiu knew that Lin Jin had saved his pet beast. His initial hostility had mostly dissipated, and he no longer made things difficult for Lin Jin. But now, Chief Wang Ji had personally given the order, so he had no choice but to comply. After returning to the General Affairs Office, Zhou Xiu pondered for a moment before arranging for someone to carry out the order. However, he had tampered with the timing. Based on the chief's intentions, the hall should be shut down immediately. However, he instructed his subordinates to wait until the afternoon break. At the same time, he sent someone to inform Lin Jin so that he could make some preparations. At the very least, he had to settle the matter at hand. Otherwise, having his hall shut down in front of everyone would be utterly humiliating. Lin Jin, consider this a favor returned, Zhou Xiu mumbled to himself after making the arrangements. The notice from the General Affairs Office arrived. Lin Jin picked it up and was stunned. Noticing that something was off, Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun hurried over to ask about it. Lin Jin passed the notice to them before continuing to diagnose the remaining pet beasts. When Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun saw the notice, they trembled in anger. Calm down. Don't let others see you as a joke. There are still a few registered customers. We'll talk about it after we've examined them. The General Affairs Office has also said that they'll only send someone over at noon. Lin Jin remained nonchalant. Although he was infuriated, he had to maintain his composure. Otherwise, wouldn't he just be making his enemies happy? Han Dong had something on his mind, so he hadn't spoken much since morning. He had been obediently assisting Lin Jin. Now that he noticed something amiss, he went over to ask about it. Lu Xiaoyun angrily handed him the notice. "Look at it yourself. They're such bullies. I won't let them get away with this." Lu Xiaoyun was on the verge of tears, and so was Zhao Ying. When Han Dong read the notice, his heart skipped a beat and he clenched his fists. Even he felt that this was going too far. If Appraiser Lin was truly hopeless and incompetent, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But the problem was, after interacting with him, Han Dong truly felt Appraiser Lin's selflessness. His integrity as a beast appraiser surpassed everyone else's. He witnessed with his own eyes that no matter what kind of customer or patient came, Appraiser Lin would treat them seriously without any hint of impatience. Every evaluation report was written in great detail. Appraiser Lin wouldn't treat patients simply because they had minor problems or were of low status. In terms of knowledge and skills, he wouldn't lose to the chief or Appraiser Gao. He kept a low profile, endured humiliation, and never fought for fame or fortune. To think that an honest man like him would be treated so unfairly. Who didn't know how humiliating it was to have one's consultation hall shut down? Even an apprentice who made a mistake shouldn't be treated this way. If Han Dong were in his shoes, no, anyone else would have exploded on the spot. At the very least, they wouldn't be as calm as he was now. But in order not to disturb the customers, Appraiser Lin continued to carry out his duties as a beast appraiser. It was easy to tell who had a better character at a glance. In an instant, Han Dong felt even more ashamed and his eyes reddened. Chapter 57. When it was almost noon, Lin Jin finally sent off the last customer. In just one morning, he had appraised and treated more than 10 pet beasts. Other beast appraisers could achieve this speed too, but none of them could be as detailed as Lin Jin. Everyone who had registered with Lin Jin felt that it was worth it and was extremely satisfied. How could they not be? If it was the same problem, other beast appraisers or apprentices would have to make several trips here. They would also need to follow up and go through all sorts of tests. Almost none of them could solve the problem in one go. However, Appraiser Lin was able to solve all of them in one go. Just the evaluation report alone was much thicker than the other appraiser's one-page evaluation report. It was written in such detail that anyone who could read would be able to understand it. Appraiser Lin, I'll go reason with them. Lu Xiaoyun couldn't hold it in any longer and was about to explode. Come back. Lin Jin called Lu Xiaoyun back. There's no point in you talking to them. You'll just end up giving them a reason to criticize you. If they want to remove my card, so be it. But Lin Jin waved his hand and said nothing more. Outside, Zhou Xiu had arrived with the people from the General Affairs Department. In fact, they had arrived long ago but waited outside until the last customer had left before entering. Lu Xiaoyun was so angry that she was about to step forward while Zhao Ying glared at her. Lin Jin, on the other hand, knew that Zhou Xiu had secretly helped him this time. Otherwise, if Zhou Xiu were to come and close the hall when it was the most crowded, Lin Jin would be utterly humiliated. Zhao Ying, Xiaoyun, don't be rude. Steward Zhou is just doing his job, Lin Jin said. He clearly knew that Zhou Xiu had no right to give the order to remove his card and close the hall. The mastermind behind this wasn't Zhou Xiu. The only one who could give this order, and had the authority to do so, was Chief Wang Ji. Zhou Xiu was a smart man. He knew that Lin Jin was indebted to him for his efforts in stalling for time, so he sighed and announced, "The association has decided that due to Appraiser Lin's previous severe evaluation incident, from today onwards, his hall will be temporarily closed. We will wait for the final inspection results before making further arrangements." Removing Lin Jin's card meant removing it. Even if someone wanted to register with Lin Jin in the future, they wouldn't be able to do so. Sealing the consultation hall was even simpler. Lin Jin could simply seal the consultation hall so that Lin Jin couldn't enter again. To an appraiser, this was a huge humiliation. How could Lin Jin not be angry? How could he not be angry? But Lin Jin knew it was pointless. Shouting and throwing a tantrum would only embarrass him. A smart person's counterattack would always be to hit where it hurts and slash the throat with a sword. Before that, he could only endure. "We'll pack up and leave." "Thank you, Manager Zhou," Lin Jin said with a salute. Zhou Xiu's heart skipped a beat. In the face of such humiliation, Lin Jin remained calm and collected, accepting it calmly. His state of mind was nothing like that of a young man. Moreover, upon closer inspection, Lin Jin's eyes were bright and confident. He clearly had a backup plan. Zhou Xiu felt his scalp go numb. He mused, "I must have been blinded by lard. How did I fail to notice how extraordinary Lin Jin is?" This time, it seemed like Chief Wang Ji had the upper hand. Logically speaking, Lin Jin wouldn't have a chance to turn things around. But now, Zhou Xiu had a feeling that things might change. There wasn't much left in the consultation hall. They didn't have to bring their books, pet beasts, and some paper, pens, and clothes. Thus, they packed up quickly. In the process, Zhao Ying, Lu Xiaoyun, and even Han Dong's eyes were red as they remained silent. At this, Lin Jin chuckled. "It's just a temporary closure. It won't last forever. Since you're studying under my name, you should have some confidence in me. Come, I'm hungry. I'll treat you to a feast." Wang Ji had obviously sent someone to keep an eye on the situation here. I don't know what that Zhou Xiu is up to. Why did he give Lin Jin some time to prepare? He should have immediately closed his consultation hall in front of everyone this morning. But it doesn't matter now. The result will be the same. Lin Jin, oh Lin Jin, even if you want to turn things around, I won't give you the chance. Upon hearing that Lin Jin's hall had been shut down, the weight on Wang Ji's heart was finally lifted. With that, all they had to do was to wait for headquarters inspectors to arrive at Maple City and verify Lin Jin's appraisal mistake. Then, they could revoke his beast appraiser qualification. Just then, someone reported that Jia Qian was requesting an audience. A glint flashed across Wang Ji's eyes. Then, he sat up straight in his chair and had someone call her in. After a while, Jia Qian walked in. "Greetings, Chief." Jia Qian was still as flirtatious as ever. No man could resist her seductive charm. Wang Ji glanced at her lithe figure and silently cursed. What a vixen. Come to think of it, the reason he went after Lin Jin in the first place was because of Jia Qian. Back then, he wanted to get intimate with her and use this incident to make Jia Qian his personal plaything. But soon, Wang Ji realized that Jia Qian wasn't easy to deal with either. She would always be able to escape from his grasp. After such a long time, Wang Ji had yet to gain any advantage from her. Forget getting intimate with her, he couldn't even hold her hand. This was akin to having a dish that looked, smelled, and tasted great, but one could only look at it but not eat it. Anyone would be frustrated by this. Wang Ji was infuriated. His patience with Jia Qian was wearing thin. Now, he was only dealing with Lin Jin because he wanted to establish his authority. Since he had given Lin Jin a low rating, Lin Jin had to go along with his evaluation. Otherwise, he would be the one to be scrutinized. Besides that, one of the association's elders, Nan Gongxian, had mentioned to him that if there was a chance, he could promote Dong He. Nan Gongxian's wife, Dong Ke, was Dong He's elder sister. One was an association elder with a powerful background, while the other was a female apprentice with a pretty face. Wang Ji didn't even have to ask how he would choose. Is something the matter? Wang Ji put on airs. This was a consultation hall. Although he and Jia Qian were the only ones here, they couldn't go overboard in case someone saw them. I heard that Lin Jin's consultation hall has been shut down, Jia Qian said. Wang Ji nodded. That's right. I was the one who gave the order. You should be happy. Jia Qian looked around before taking a step forward with a smile. A fragrant breeze immediately assaulted them. Chief, this Lin Jin is doomed. When can you nominate and recommend me? Her voice was seductive. Wang Ji chuckled. Come find me tonight and I'll let you know. His words were very direct. Having said that, he reached out to touch Jia Qian's waist. Jia Qian's expression changed slightly. She shifted her feet lightly and dodged his hand. She deliberately said in an annoyed tone, Chief, didn't we agree that as long as I can become an official beast appraiser, Chief will get what you want? Wang Ji frowned unhappily. It's like this every time. You want me to do something but you won't even let me touch your hand. Now I'm starting to wonder if you're just toying with me. Jia Qian quickly said, I wouldn't dare. I've already made a promise with you. As long as I can fulfill my wish, I won't go back on my word. But before that, please bear with me for now. Wang Ji was clearly losing his patience. This was the same excuse he used every single time. He decided to use force. After all, he was sure that even if he slept with Jia Qian, she wouldn't dare to say anything. However, someone knocked on the door, extinguishing the fire in Wang Ji's heart. Jia Qian took the opportunity to leave. Once she stepped out, her expression darkened. She took a few deep breaths to calm herself down before leaving. Chapter 58. Lin Jin led his 3 apprentices straight to Liao Gu's yard. Speaking of which, ever since he had Master Chef Liao's cooking, Lin Jin had become a picky eater. Whenever he tried someone else's cooking, he would always find it lacking, so he wanted to freeload another meal. Of course, Lin Jin didn't call it freeloading. That was a way of bonding. Didn't you see Zhao Ying and the others buying him gifts? After the incident at Symphony Restaurant, Liao Gu never went there again. Although the boss behind Symphony Restaurant paid him a visit later on, the old man was stubborn and refused to budge. Apparently, the boss of Symphony Restaurant was furious. Of course, he wasn't angry at Master Chef Liao. That incident was all Zhang Bailey's fault. No doubt, Zhang Bailey was taught a terrible lesson. Not only did he have to compensate a large sum of money, but he could also forget about establishing a foothold in the restaurant industry for the rest of his life. When Lin Jin arrived, Liao Gu was picking vegetables in the yard. Liao Gu was elated to see Lin Jin. He had been cooking all his life, so his temperament was as straightforward as the fire in the stove. If he liked someone, he would talk to them for 3 days and 3 nights. If he didn't like someone, he wouldn't even look them in the eye. Of the people Lin Jin brought here, Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun had met Liao Gu before. Both of them behaved like ladies as they bowed politely. It was Han Dong's first time seeing the legendary Master Chef Liao, and he was so shocked that he was speechless. Appraiser Lin has treated me with sincerity, so how could I continue hiding things from him? Han Dong had been struggling internally along the way. Truth be told, he didn't feel pressured at first, but after witnessing Lin Jin's superb skills and admirable character, Han Dong was shaken. Especially since Lin Jin had taught him everything he knew without holding anything back. Lin Jin's teachings were as heavy as a mountain, so it would be strange if he didn't waver at all. Hence, he sought out Lin Jin alone and confessed everything. When everything was said out, Han Dong was completely relaxed. He also felt a sense of relief. To him, what happened next no longer mattered. Even if Appraiser Lin scolded him and chased him away, he was willing to accept it. After all, he had to take responsibility for his mistake. Lin Jin remained silent after hearing this. There was a period of silence. Han Dong lowered his head and said, Appraiser Lin, scold me all you want. I know I'm in the wrong. When I get back, I'll look for Dong He and the others and tell them that I won't do this again. Then, I'll leave the Beast Appraisal Association on my own accord. After saying those words, he turned to leave. Lin Jin called him back. Ordinary people don't get to taste Chef God Liao's dishes. Now that you have the chance to taste it, you actually want to leave. Are you stupid? Lin Jin smiled and went over to pat Han Dong on the shoulder. Since you know you've made a mistake, just change it. How can a person not make mistakes in life? Han Dong's heart trembled when he heard that. At this moment, Lin Jin's figure loomed large in his eyes. Like a mentor, Lin Jin had pulled him out of the abyss of darkness and into the light. Most importantly, appraiser Lin had forgiven him. At this moment, Han Dong only wanted to cry. Inwardly, he made up his mind that he would no longer have anything to do with Dong He and Dong Quebec. Moreover, Han Dong was quite grateful to them. If they hadn't sent him here, he probably wouldn't have had the chance to learn from appraiser Lin. Lin Jin didn't tell anyone else about this. He didn't hold it against Han Dong because he didn't cause any serious consequences. Also, Han Dong took the initiative to confess. With this, Lin Jin could take in a capable subordinate, so why bother making things difficult for him? I was wondering how that dumb pig Dong he could come up with this idea. So it turns out he has a smart sister who's also Elder Nan Gongxian's wife. But so what? Lin Jin wasn't afraid of this at all. Despite being at his lowest point and having his consultation hall shut down by Wang Ji, he was no longer the Lin Jin of the past. With the Museum of Deadly Beasts, it was only a matter of time before he could make a comeback. Lin Jin couldn't be bothered to think too much about it now. All he wanted to do was to have a good meal. Moreover, the association's monthly assessment was in 2 days' time. Coincidentally, it was also the day of the Beast Appraiser's examination. This day was rather special. Apprentice Beast Appraisers could take the qualification exam for official Beast Appraisers on this day. Similarly, official Beast Appraisers could take the advancement exam on this day. Now that Lin Jin was a rank 1 Beast Appraiser, if he passed the advancement exam, he could become a rank 2 Beast Appraiser. This was Lin Jin's plan. In fact, whether or not his consultation hall was shut down, Lin Jin planned to take the advancement exam for rank 2. With the Museum of Deadly Beasts' blessing, why wouldn't he take it? Before that, it would be good to rest. Liao Gu lived up to his title as the god of cookery. He casually made a few dishes that looked delicious. During the meal, he chatted with Lin Jin. Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyun only cared about eating without lifting their heads. Just then, Lin Jin noticed a pile of rotten vegetables that had obviously been eaten by insects in the yard, so he asked about it. At this, Liao Gu was infuriated. It's all because of that despicable vegetable worm. I don't know where it's hiding, but it keeps harming my vegetables. I've been using spiritual spring water to nourish these vegetables, but it attracted the attention of that vegetable worm. I've been thinking of many ways to catch it these days, but none of them worked. This old man Liao Gu was quite an interesting man. He was actually angered by a vegetable worm. When Lin Jin heard this, he immediately realized that the vegetable worm Liao Gu was talking about wasn't an ordinary worm. Otherwise, how could it be so intelligent that no one could catch it? Out of curiosity, Lin Jin inquired further. Liao Gu described the vegetable worm as huge, as thick as a thumb. Its entire body was green with red patterns, and it had been wreaking havoc in the vegetable field. Liao Gu was infuriated that he couldn't catch it even after trying to catch it several times. I suspect that the vegetable worm is a rare species. Not only does it move strangely, but it's also extremely cunning. I've lost to it in several fights. But forget it, I'll be leaving Maple City in a few days. By then, that evil worm won't be able to harm me even if it wants to. I can't afford to provoke it, but can't I just avoid it? Liao Gu looked helpless. It was obvious that he didn't gain the upper hand in his battle with the vegetable worm. Depressed, he continued to narrate the evil worm's deeds. Lin Jin could only listen. Just then, Goldie, whom Lin Jin had carried over, walked past the dining table with his head held high. In Goldie's mouth was a fat vegetable worm. Lin Jin glanced at it. No matter how he looked at it, the fat worm in Goldie's mouth looked very similar to the vegetable worm Liao Gu was talking about. It was as thick as a thumb and was entirely green with red patterns. They really were the same. Lin Jin interrupted Liao Gu's complaints and pointed to Goldie beside him. Master Chef Liao, is this the evil worm you were talking about? Liao Gu was in the middle of his rambling when Lin Jin interrupted him. Liao Gu looked displeased, but when he turned to look, he was dumbfounded. Judging by Master Chef Liao's expression, there was no need to ask. Sensing Liao Gu's gaze, Goldie took a cautious step back. Perhaps afraid that Liao Gu would snatch the worm away from him, Goldie simply chewed and pecked the worm into pieces before devouring it. After he was done, he raised his head and proudly strode off to the vegetable field to bask in the sun. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.